This is the championship game of the Dare Challenge, with OLR taking on Winton Forest. The Dare Challenge is presented by Waycross Community Television in cooperation with the Forest Park, Green Hills, and Springfield Township Police Departments. The Dare Challenge consists of 3 rounds. The first 2 rounds will be 7 minutes in length. Each correct answer is worth 5 points. The first team to buzz in answers first. If a wrong answer is given, the other team has the opportunity to answer. If both teams fail, the audience is given a chance to come up with the correct answer. Round 3 is the bonus round, with 10 points awarded for correct answers. This round will last 5 minutes. There will be no audience participation during round 3. In case of any disputes, the decision of the judges is final. The team with the most points at the end of round 3 is the winner and the champion of the 1994 Dare Challenge. Good luck! We now join host Bob Sabin, reading the second question of the championship round of the Dare Challenge on Waycross Community Television.
The wrong use of something, such as the misuse of a drug, is called, and it looks like for Winton Forest, it is Jessica.
Drug abuse.
Abuse, yes, that's correct. This is a fill in the blank. Crack is another name for, okay, for Our Lady of the Rosary, it is Michael.
Cocaine.
Cocaine, yes. Now this is a multiple choice question that has 3 answers. Allow me to give you the 3 multiple choices. Who are you allowed to take drugs from? A, your doctor. B, your mom and dad. Or C, both of the above. And it looks like for Winton Forest, it is at the end, Chris?
C, both of the above.
Yes, C, both your doctor and your mom and dad. All right, fill in the blank. Drugs hurt your body when you blank them. Okay, it looks like for Winton Forest, it is at the end, Marcus.
Abuse them.
Abuse them, yes.
Come on, LLR.
All right, here's a fill in the blank as well. Caffeine affects your body by blank, your heart, and, I'm sorry, buzzing in too early was Our Lady of the Rosary, so I'll repeat the question for Winton Forest. Caffeine affects your body by blank, your heart, and breathing. Okay, it's Jessica.
Make it go faster, making it go faster.
Yes, speeding up, correct.
Oh, Jessica. Come on.
Remember, contestants, speak real loud when we want to answer these questions so the viewers at home can hear you. True or false? If you use change the subject, you should agree to what the other person wants. Okay. For Our Lady of Rosary, it is Michael.
False.
False is correct. I guess, did you guess that one?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you get a 50% chance that he got it right, so he got it right. Here's another true or false question. Not all drugs can be abused. And it looks like for Winton Forest, it is Armand.
False.
False, that's correct. Another true or false. Self-esteem is the favorable way you feel about yourself. Okay, buzzing in just a little too early was Winton Forest. Remember, contestants, allow me to finish the question. I will ask the question for Our Lady of the Rosary. Here it is. True or false? Self-esteem is the favorable way you feel about yourself. Okay, and it looks like it is Melissa. Oh, it's Carrie, I'm sorry.
True.
True, that's correct. True or false? Laws are made to protect people and to keep them safe. Okay, and it looks like for Winton Forest, it is at the end, Marcus.
True.
True, that's correct. Cigarettes and cigars are made from, okay, it looks like for Our Lady of the Rosary, it is Andy.
Tobacco?
Tobacco, yes, that's correct. Yeah, Michael, you're stealing his microphone there. Come on. Okay, this is a yes or no question, okay? Should you take someone else's medicine? Okay, it looks like for Winton Forest, Jessica.
No.
No, that's correct. Okay, fill in the blank. Family pressure comes from your, And it looks like for Our Lady of the Rosary, Andy.
Family?
Family is correct. Okay, that's what we call a duh question. 1, 2, 3, contestants, duh! Okay. Something we've added for the finals. Any strain, pressure, or excitement felt about a situation or event is called, okay, just buzzing in just a little too early, was Winton Forest. So let me repeat the question. Any strain, pressure, or excitement felt about a situation or event is called, okay, it looks like it is Carrie.
Stress.
Stress, that's correct. When you continue to say no many times, what way to say no is that? Okay, it looks like for Winton Forest, it is Robin.
Broken record.
Broken record, that is correct. Situations which cause stress are called, okay, it looks like for Winton Forest, it is Jessica.
Stressors.
Stressors, that's correct. Here's another fill in the blank. Pressures we feel from TV, radio, newspaper, billboards is called, and it looks like for Our Lady of the Rosary, and it's Michael.
Media.
Media, yes. He speaks real loud to everybody, okay. True or false? Pressure is a force or influence which acts upon you to do something. Okay, it looks like for Winton Forest, it is Robin.
True.
True, that is the correct answer.
Come on, LR.
Okay. The E in dare stands for what? Okay, buzzing in just a little too early was Our Lady of the Rosary. Please allow me to finish the question. The E in dare stands for what? And it looks like it's Armand.
Education.
Education, yes. Drug abuse, resistance, education. Okay. What is the emergency telephone number for police, fire, or medical emergencies? Okay, it looks like for Our Lady of the Rosary, it is at the end. Is it? Yeah. Oh, it's Carrie, I'm sorry.
911.
911, yes. And with that 911, that's the end of round number 1. And at the end of round number 1, we have good action going in our final round. We find Winton Forest up 60-40 over Our Lady of the Rosary. We've got exciting second round action coming up after these messages from Waycross community. Until then, we'll see you back here at the Dare Challenge in just a minute.
It may not look,
Don't you love it?
but you're watching.
Don't you love the Dare Challenge? Come on. You got to love the Dare Challenge. I love the Dare Challenge. I find it fascinating. Again, I get to talk a little longer because guess what? Today, you just got me. Our friend Sunday is having to deal with some stuff with a friend, and we are going to be very nice about that because this is not him, running away because, that's what he does. It's not that, actually. He's got some personal shit, and I'm here to kind of take things over. He's not banned. This is not what's happening. Although that would be a really fun story to run with for a day, because apparently that's kind of how the news goes. That's not what we're at. That's not where we're at today. Today we're going to be going over a bunch of different news, watching some videos. I'm excited for the fun stuff, and ideally we'll be doing some, seeing what sort of catches the fancy of everything. So give me 2 seconds to get sort of a few things. I've just got to add a few items to these things. It's been a long few days. This has been a long couple days that's been running. The thing I'm always going to sort of start with, though, and I kind of always want to, because I know Sunday, just like, we're not going to be that channel that's always doing finance, Brooks. We're not going to be doing that. I think it's important to keep people up to date on it, and to sort of talk about how these things impact our lives, because they do. They always do, and they always will. And so when we start talking about, like, I think it's, is it that guy? No, it's going to be this other one. Boop. The nature of our world is that of the stock market and the markets controlling things. To not have a grasp and to not understand where those things are at is to play a game where you believe ideology and abstract ideas ultimately run things instead of very much the forces of the market, capital, and power that is infused and suffused through that. Sunday ain't late. Sunday ain't coming. You only got me. If you have no interest in Brooks, you are free to have no interest in Brooks. Please, you're free to tune out as necessary, but I'll do my best to keep you interested. But the stock market today is rallying again. And there's a really interesting setup and way this is working. Every time that this happens, you need to watch the reasons. And the reasons are Trump says something that completely destroys investor confidence. Trump says something that bolsters investor confidence. And again, not what I would say long-term investors, not the big houses, but retail investors, because that's who's really running the markets now, as we've seen over the last, 3 months. The investor market is retail primarily, and those are the people causing swings. We've seen a huge amount of money go in and out, but mostly be pulled out. This time, Trump, after saying that he would be taking Powell out and taking on control of the Fed, said, maybe I won't do that. And also hinted that we're going to probably cut all the tariffs on China. We'll be going over that today because the administration's in complete disarray. But this specifically is because...
How do you refute presuppositional apologetics?
You are unreal, my friend. Once again, BJP with the, I'm assuming AI coding, and you're practicing with it. I have no idea. I'll make presuppositional apologetics a thing a little bit later in the middle of a point. The thing this time was saying that we're going to be cutting, tariffs to China. And we're going to be going over all this, but these things are very, 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 very much in a very particular direction. And they're always right after the bad. Here come the good. Here come the bad. And we'll get another statement soon enough. I have no doubt. But it's important because all the things we're going to be talking about are sort of in this realm of all of these things. So let me get the rest of the agenda up. I think we'll only have three things today. The first is we're going over Pete Hegseth because holy shit, I think it's just, it's my favorite train wreck in politics right now. If you're not watching it, Pete Hegseth, the alcoholic, probable rapist, alleged rapist by his own mother, who's been horrifying most of his career and life and been thrown off multiple, everything. He's just a train wreck, put in front charge of the DOD, leaking everything, and now it's only getting worse, and that'll be really fun. Then the rest of the Trump admin collapsing, I think, is going to be the next bet. I've never been so hated for donating. You're not hated, my friend, but I do give you shit, and you're going to deal with that. And then the last thing is we're going to talk about tariffs and gamers. There's a great video that came out from one of my favorite YouTube channels. If you've not seen it, Gamer Nexus put it out. We're going to watch a section of it and talk through it because it's going to be, I think, a pretty big deal overall. And that'll be the last thing. And then if you guys add anything, if you want to at all, feel free to super chat, donate. Happy to react. But right now, I'll add, one sec, I forgot to add presuppositional apologetics, but we'll get to that at some point. I promise, BJP. You're not banned. You're good, my friend. Anyone's free to be silly. Pete Hegseth, who has been the worst train wreck of a DOD, in the first 100 days of the president, he's done more sort of hilarious things and been involved in more hilarious things, all the way from siding with JD Vance in a leaked Signal chat that shouldn't have been on Signal, saying that it shouldn't have been on Signal, and then having it be on Signal, and then having another chat revealed that also is on Signal, where he gave the same information to people who don't have security clearances on his private phone, and this is just like one thing. The White House is finally like a little bit at the end of their rope with him. And that we've known this was coming because, again, he undermined Trump in that Signal chat. So it's kind of a perfectly fine thing that's going to just be what it is, and it is what it is, and as we go. It's the way it works. But I want to go over one specific moment that happened on Fox and Friends, which is this is yesterday. And as these articles come out, Hegseth is doing everything he can to fight and make it feel like he's on the same side as Trump. He is doing everything he can to make the idea of Pete Hegseth, the concept of Pete Hegseth, he wants that to be the thing. I want you to think of me as Trump. And so this was fucking amazing. This whole interview is incredible. We're going to watch most of it. So buckle up and let me know if there's audio issues, as always. I hope there is not, but hey, who knows?
Why do you have confidence?
Because he's doing a great job. Great job. Ask the Houthis how he's doing. Everybody's happy with it. We have the highest recruitment numbers I think they've had in 28 years. No, he's doing a great job. It's just fake news.
Well, that was President Trump doubling down on his support for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
In response to articles saying that they're looking for a replacement, because they are, he's great. Everything's wonderful. I'm great. Everything I do is great.
24 hours ago, denying a New York Times report about sharing sensitive information on another Signal chat called Team Huddle. Here to set the record straight himself, the current Secretary of State, Pete Hegseth,
thank you. Brian Kilmeade will never not entertain me.
To set the record straight himself, former Secretary
of Defense. Like he opens up with it. I love Brian. He gets paid to talk to people. That's what his job is. I love it.
The current Secretary of State, Pete Hegseth, former host right here on Fox and Friends. Pete,
hey,
great
Brian.
To see you, Mr. Secretary.
Great to see you.
So your thoughts on what's been reporting of Team Huddle and the Signal chat that the New York Times says took place between you, your wife, and your brother and some others?
So, Brian, if you remember when this all started, the first go-around, because this is the second go-around, right? They peddle old stuff, they kick it back up. I said repeatedly, no one's texting war plans. You know why I said that? Because I'm in the bowels of the Pentagon every single day. Just 10 minutes ago, I was looking at actual war plans of things that were ongoing or pending things to happen. Because that's
this has been his line, that this fantasy that there is a delineation in the world of war crimes.
Is Michael Sugrue just as cursed as Jonathan Bai?
They're all terrible, and you should not look to people on YouTube to enlighten you. You should work for your own and read things.
That's on a regular basis on classified systems. That's my job for the war fighters, for the President of the United States. I look at war plans every single day. What was shared over Signal, then and now, however you characterize it, was informal, unclassified coordinations for media coordination and other things. That's what I've said.
Media coordinations, when a missile's going to hit, how it's going to hit, what time it's going to hit, how it's going to land, where it's going to land. All of that stuff. Like, how is that war plans? He's fucking amazing.
From the beginning. At the beginning, it was left-wing reporters from The Atlantic who got a hold of it and then wanted to create a problem for the president. This is what it's all about, trying to get at President Trump and his agenda. Now, here at the Defense Department, because, Brian, I want this to be very clear. We take the classification of information very important. It's very significant to us that
we take it. It's very important. He is a great talker. This is like at 8:22 in the morning, and he's soused. Like this is a function. This is what a functional alcoholic acts like. All jazz, getting it going, and how he's talking is so great.
Safeguard.
I love it.
And so when we had leaks, which we have had here, we did a serious leak investigation. And through that leak investigation, unfortunately, we found some folks that we believe were not holding to the protocols that we hold dear here.
So we fired a bunch of people for leaking stuff because of the Signal chat. None of the people in the Signal chat, though. It's great.
The Defense Department. through that investigation, they have been moved on, and that investigation continues. As a result of that, everything we do here is above board, trying to make sure that we safeguard information. In this point, those folks who were leaking, who have been pushed out of the building, are now attempting to leak and sabotage the president's agenda and what we're doing. And that's unfortunate. It's not what I do. It's not how we operate. And so you've got another allegation being pushed again, not based on how we're operating around here. We're for the warfighters. We're for the president. And none of this is based in reality.
So, Mr. Secretary, I guess I can conclude this. We know some bizarre situation with Michael Waltz happened with the first time the whole thing with the Signal app came out. You believe this came out, they said it was called Team Huddle, because one of the people who work for you, one of the three who no longer are there, leaked this out as a way to get back at you?
That's right, Brian. When you dismiss people who you believe are leaking classified information, and again, the investigation is ongoing and that will take time, and when the evidence is produced, it will go to DOJ, why would it surprise anybody, Brian, if those very same people keep leaking to the very same reporters whatever information they think they can have to try to sabotage the agenda of the president or the secretary? So once a leaker, always a leaker.
The projection is unfucking real at this point.
Often a leaker. And so we looked for leakers because we take it very seriously. And we will do the investigation. Right. And if those people are exonerated, fantastic. We don't think, based on what we understand, that it's going to be a good day for a number of those individuals because of what was found in the investigation. So if they want to...
I do have an over-the-top filter, to be fair. He looks fine. He's just, again, it's 8:24 a.m. and he's overexcited, and there's a behavior pattern that some of us might recognize.
Keep leaking and pushing and peddling things that try to sabotage the president's agenda. That's unfortunate. But that's how leaking works in this town. We're focused on recruiting, on rooting out DEI, on securing our southwest border, on the president's agenda, and it's going very well at the Pentagon, and I'm proud of it.
Right. So the Signal app is what everyone uses. We're all finding that out now because of the Chinese have infected and sabotaged, gotten involved in almost every other communications apparatus over the...
I love it. I really do. The Chinese have gotten involved in every other communications apparatus, so everyone uses Signal. The Chinese.
Last 4 years. So that's where you're communicating. You say it took place, but there was no classified material in it. Over the last few...
Hegseth doesn't want war with Iran enough. Next one will.
That is horrifying. Accurate, I think. But also, I don't know if Trump, who is someone who's the way he is and the way he interacts with people, necessitates someone like a Hegseth, as I see it. Because one of the things that he does is by forcing people to kiss the ring, by forcing people to be his way, to do his way, there isn't really sort of a secondary play around him. In the White Houses often, this was in Bush's White House even, Reagan's, you have sort of fiefdoms of sorts around various ideologies, is an easy way to put it. So when someone wants a lot of war, someone's a hyper war hawk, like a John Bolton, but you have people who are more minimizing because they're more interested in the capital and the private contractor, like a Dick Cheney. And then you have like these various people, their focus as like a thing has to be on Trump and like glazing him. And that's all Pete Hegseth does is you can hear it here. He's just glazing. We're doing only that. We're doing these things. He's saying at the same time that the Pentagon is a broken mess of nightmares of people backstabbing and leaking, and it's awful, but I've got it under control and it's working great and it's perfect, because they're talking up both sides of their mouths. That's what they're doing. That's how they're setting things up. That's how they always have set things up. So when we're like watching this and when they're going to get rid of him, they're going to find someone else. Are they going to be able to find someone who explicitly has any real ideological goal other than power and subservience to Trump? It's a real question. Actually, I continually am asking, because when you look at, again, who they're putting in positions, how they're putting people, they're all across the board the most incompetent person who could be in that role, who's just doing the thing Trump said that they need to do. They're not actual career statespeople. They're not actual career bureaucrats. They're not career business people. Like Linda McMahon is the closest you get to a business person. Consider that. Like you have the Secretary of Treasury, who's purely in it for the power and money. He doesn't give a shit about any of these things. It's a completely different thing. So it's the next one wanting something outside of serving Trump. I'm not certain we can get there. It's kind of interesting.
Few days, your senior advisor, Dan Caldwell, Darren Selnick, Colin Carroll, who was your chief of staff, deputy secretary of defense. The other one, Darren, is now former deputy chief of staff, were let go. Did you let them go?
Brian, it was a result of an investigation ongoing at the Pentagon where we identified there was sufficient evidence, potentially, again, there's an investigation ongoing that will have to complete itself, sufficient evidence to believe that they or others near them were party to leaking. And then I have a statutory responsibility, Brian, if I believe that's the case, to ultimately ensure they no longer have access to that.
You're an old white guilt hippie that no one listens to anymore. You're all sheep for the left. The rest of us are through with your white guilt. I haven't even talked about white guilt. You're great. I'm also not a hippie. Man, the bots are really weird today.
And that the investigation commences. There are a lot of ways to communicate in this building. I do it every day. I was just doing it this morning. Official channels by which we communicate classified information. If you want
to... Official channels like Signal.
Do it and do it the right way, you should. If we think you are leaking to the press, that's a very real problem. We take that very seriously at the Pentagon. I'm here to do one job. One job for the president and the American people. Secure the country. America first, peace through strength. I don't have time for leakers. I don't have time for the hoax press that peddles old stories from disgruntled employees. We should be talking about the decimation of the Houthis, how we're pushing back the Chinese, how we have a new defense area at the southern border. Instead, disgruntled former employees are peddling things to try to save their ass.
Did you?
And ultimately, that's it's not going to work.
Mr. Secretary, did you find this out, or did they come to you? Because I know you know these guys. Like these are the guys you picked, especially Caldwell. And they worked for you for your previous job before you got over to Fox.
I love him.
And they said that they have not been asked about their phones. They weren't asked about communications. They didn't go through, they didn't take a polygraph. So why would they be let go and not be investigated?
How fucked up that Brian Kilmeade, of all people, is able to ask this question. Now, if you aren't following, they got rid of a couple guys. And those guys have said they didn't ask for our phones. They actually didn't do an investigation. They just asked us to leave. Why? Why were they asked to leave? Enjoy Pete's response.
Well, Brian, when there were a series of serious leaks at the Pentagon, which there were, Panama Canal plans, Elon Musk's visit, you name it, any number of things, and there's 4, 5, 6, 7 things. We said enough is enough. We're gonna launch a leak investigation, which we did, which was then handed over to OSI, which is the special investigators here at DOD. Right. Through that investigation, information was surfaced, which created a responsibility to take action. That's how it works when you you actually investigate leaks, Brian. So it's easy to say, oh, we asked everybody and everybody said they're good. Or you can take it seriously and say, we don't think leaks are okay at this department. Right. So we're going to investigate. And when we investigate, we'll take it anywhere it leads. And unfortunately, Brian, to your point,
he's just spouting like fantastic, like Markov chain bullshit. It's a lot and it's fantastic. He's very good at it. If
one or two of these guys is exonerated after an investigation, great. That's what investigations are for. But we took it seriously. It led to some unfortunate places, people I have known for quite some time, but it's not my job to protect them. It's my job to protect national security, the President of the United States, and let the investigation go where it is. So when that evidence is gathered sufficiently, and this has all happened very quickly, it will be handed over to DOJ, and those people will be prosecuted if necessary. The leakers know who they are. and we know over time the truth will be told, and we stand firm behind that. Leaking is not okay in national security policy, and we will stand behind that every day of the week.
Does he need to be cut off? So if you haven't spent time around a lot of pretty severe alcoholics, and it's maybe not a thing you've dealt with, there are layers of types of alcoholism, but high energy drunks is a real fucking thing, especially in the morning.
Money, 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 money.
The old world is hungover while the new struggles to cover its ass.
I like that.
It looks like Carol and Selnick intend to sue for wrongful termination. And again, they didn't ask to take a polygraph test. Do you know Joe Casper? Is he still your chief of staff? Is he leaving?
Oh, Joe's a great guy. He's a great American. He has done a fantastic job for us at the Defense Department, securing the southwest border, getting a beachhead here at the Pentagon. He's staying with us, going to be in a slightly different role, but he's not going anywhere, certainly not fired. You make changes over time. Right. And we're grateful for everything Joe's done.
So, as you know, one of the people that left, he says he was not fired, he let go. Other people said he was fired. John Hewlett, a former Pentagon spokesperson, decided to put this in Politico and say, here's a quote, "It's been a month of total chaos at the Pentagon, from leaks of sensitive operational plans to mass firings. The dysfunctional, now a major distraction for the president, deserves better from his senior leadership. President Donald Trump has a strong record on holding his top officials to account. Given that, it's hard to see Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth."
The signals, media is fascinating. A little bit of media thing. If Brian Kilmeade is continually laying into this person, he's not here to help this guy, Hegseth, refill his image, fix it up. That's not what he's doing. He is setting up the tone. He is setting up the pins for the bowling ball, because over and over and over he's hammering it home. And he's not doing it in his clumsy way where he covers for things, which he does a lot. He will turn around and he'll very much say, how do you feel about Politico, that liberal rag? That's how he'll talk, but that's not what he's doing here. He's not playing with that at all. He's flat out saying, positively, this guy loves Trump, and he's saying this.
It's remaining in his role for much longer. You know him. I know he was let go. He had a great idea to get rid of Jackie Robinson, being sarcastic, from the Pentagon. Your thoughts about that statement?
Anybody that knows John knows why we let him go. We did a lot of favors for John. He did some good work up front. Then he was moved along and asked to move along. Now he's misrepresented a lot of things in the press. It's unfortunate. We did right by him. We tried to help. He's spinning it otherwise. It's too bad. It's politics, I guess.
Mr. Secretary, do you think you take this job, you come in with war experience and your great background, do you think there's a lot of people who don't want you there, and there's some type of deep state forces that want to make sure you don't stay there?
Love it. The permanent state is a thing. The deep state is the colloquialism used by the right and conspiracy brain people to add that layer of Jew, is what they want to add. They want to connect it back to QAnon and the Jews controlling the world and all this shit. So deep state, permanent state, because the nature of having a bureaucratic state is that there are people who are hired who exist across presidents, and those people end up having a huge amount of sway and keep sort of the mechanisms of government running. And the issue of this is that you can't get rid of the permanent state, because then you have no one who knows what they're doing. That's kind of the back and forth. Now he's making the move and claiming that he is, as Secretary of Defense, since he's not able to get the Defense Department under control, he's not able to get the Pentagon under control, and since they have no respect for him and don't listen to him, that it's the deep state doing that. Despite the fact that far shittier people have been perfectly fine in that position and have handled it, because again, the deep state, whatever you may think, seem to do just fine with other people, especially even the first Trump administration. So this is this mentality that they've got of everyone who's not working with us. Everyone is absolutely part of that deep state, instead of looking at him as a failure of leadership. This is the flip that they're trying to do, or he's trying to do. And it goes really well.
They've come after me from day one, just like they've come after President Trump. I I mean, I've gotten a fraction of what President Trump got in that first term. What he's endured is superhuman. It's not hard for me to do this job. I know exactly why I'm here. To bring war fighting and the war fighting ethos back to the Pentagon, to rip out the insidious ideologies and not compromise and not back down. To bring in new press voices into the Pentagon, which we've done, to reestablish standards and accountability, to not tolerate leakers, to 100% operational control of our border, to get rid of trans lunacy in the military. We haven't backed down. See, here's the thing. A lot of people come to Washington and they just play the game. And it's you punch their ticket and get along to go along. And, start doing Meet the Press and going to the Council on Foreign Relations and spending time with all the new cocktail sipping crowd. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because President Trump asked me to bring warfighting back to the Pentagon every single day. Right. That is our focus. And if people don't like it, they can come after me. No worries. I'm standing right here. The warfighters are behind us. Our enemies know they're on notice. Our allies know we're behind them. And that, in this dangerous world, for the American people is what it's all about.
I've been on 2 bases over the last...
I cannot tell you how false this is at almost every level. It's kind of, again, when they lie in a way that is almost unprovable because all they need is for one thing to be something you don't respond to. Because everything he's saying, we back our allies. We've literally said we don't. And that we're looking to possibly disband NATO. And we're looking at not only not backing, we've threatened military intervention or invasion to multiple partners. We're talking actively about like a lot of war shit. We're not backing or helping any of our allies in any capacity. It's not a thing we're doing. Soldiers on the ground are kind of super not sure what the fuck's going on or what the fuck is happening. The confusion inside of our own ranks is massive. We have a major problem with enlistment. This is just not great. It's not great. Am I going low frame rate? Is that what it looks great to me. Fucking really? Oh, it's jumping on the YouTube feed. Why would that be the case? Dropping frames suddenly. Why am I dropping frames? Give me 2 seconds. I don't know why I'm dropping frames. This is fascinating. Because it's all over the fucking place. Two seconds. All right, just be a second. Sorry, guys. OBS is pulling. I've got that. Something is happening and I don't know what. See if this disconnects me from you. That didn't help at all. Wonderful. Well, this could be very annoying. No, nothing is... There's literally nothing that should be causing this drop. It's got to be on YouTube's side. I'm uploading at a perfectly fine rate. I've got no drop frames, no issues here. Fascinating. We'll see what happens. It's a Weird how it's dropping. I might drop the bit rate of the stream to see if we can just keep going for a second. Let's we'll drop it to a little bit lower. All right. This should drop it. We'll see what happens. It's hard to know. Seems like it's back up a little bit. Nope, dropping and dying again. Jesus Christ. Don't go away. I'll be right back. All right. In theory, this might have fixed something. I just disconnected the stream and reconnected where it might have put me on a different server, a different connection. I've got 0 drop frames. All right. We keep going.
Last 2 months, they're overwhelmingly anecdotally support for you. And they talked about recruiting going up. So I asked for official numbers. They are through the roof. Take a look at these numbers with the Army, Air Force, and Marines. You are up 108% in November, 119% in February, 108% after the election, 105% with the Navy. With the Marines, up 112% and 100%. They are through the roof. The U.S. Air Force, 100% of its goal. Same thing in February. And Space Force is also booming, over 100%. I think the warfighters are happy to have a warfighter up top. Mr. Secretary, with all this controversy, everything swirling.
The numbers they're showing, I love it. The numbers they're showing and they're pushing, again, there's a lot of really fun stuff that they're doing here. They're comparing really weirdly the numbers of November versus February, but that's not really what they're actually showing. The overall setup, again, we don't generally get these numbers live. They're monthly numbers as a thing. We ended up having, I think it was about 55,000 recruits in all of 2024. 2025, they're hoping to have 61,000 recruits. This slight change upwards has been going on, but monthly, November, because again, it's the end of the year, the end of the school year, middle of the school year, middle of the semester, you see a lot less because primarily we actually recruit poor children who are out of school so they can use the money to eventually go to college if we don't get them killed. So February, which is right after winter break, right after that semester, right after people have a chance to drop out or do get dropped out, the numbers in the February and July are always the highest. It's June, July. So it's really particular numbers they're showing that are fascinating. Fascinating as a thing.
I think the warfighters are happy to have a warfighter up top. Mr. Secretary, with all this controversy, everything swirling around, have you ever doubted your decision to take this job?
Oh, not for a minute. I didn't hesitate when the president asked me, and I haven't hesitated for a moment, because those numbers are a reflection of why we're here. We call it the Trump bump internally. The reality is when war fighting and lethality is brought back and it's serious, that what we're doing here is serious about getting after soldiering and war fighting, American people want to come back in. They want to sign up. These recruiting numbers don't surprise me. They don't surprise me one bit. They're a reflection of a yearning from the American public, of young people, to be proud of their country, to be proud of their military, to make sure when they serve, they're given everything they need. That's why I've fought for the budget that the Defense Department requires. And the president has said we'll have our first $1 trillion budget, because my kids, my 14-year-old, if he joins, he's going to have a great military. He's going to have peace through strength because of the historic investments of this president. So, no.
And again, to make my point, just because it's a worthwhile, just a second, and I'll use a source that I think kind of applies to these people. Fox, by the way, this is Fox. Army recruiting's up, but data shows trend began before the election. Pete Hegseth and Tom Carton are saying it's because of Donald Trump that these numbers are going up. This just is not the case. The numbers have been going up. We saw a significant depression during, a time of non-war. This tends to happen. But again, there's a lot more people who are also poorer, generational. There's a whole bunch of things sort of coming in on it. but it didn't start in December. It's just bullshit. Army recruiting started getting much better earlier. We started seeing numbers monthly go up in February 2024, seeing a high of 5,000 contracts a month. That accelerated. So this thing that they're driving at, this thing that they're pushing, it's again the same kind of old bullshit. Old bullshit. And yes, women are mostly driving the growth of that side, but they don't want to say that. Why would you want to say, we're getting a lot of women who we're actively trying to take off the front lines and we don't believe should be serving. Also, we fired a ton of people for being trans or, trust me, they'll be going after others. It's a whole thing. These people.
I haven't blinked, and I won't blink because this job is too big and too important for the American people, and I'm grateful for every opportunity the president has given me.
And I was grateful to see the Hegseth army on the Easter egg roll yesterday in the backdrop. They are ready to go.
I love it. I love these guys because the entirety of the Trump admin as a thing is just that big of an utter and total train wreck. And as they slowly begin collapsing, we start seeing choices made by all of them that we're going to go in and out of a few here. The first is that, and this is kind of a huge deal, actually. Kind of a super gigantic deal that they ended up doing. The judges, Marco Rubio and Secretary of State and the Department of Homeland Security have begun removing visas from students who are here. And you're not just allowed to do that. As much as they've been saying that they're allowed to do whatever the fuck they want, there are rules about how this happens. And a U.S. District Court in Georgia said, no, actually, you've got to reinstate them. I believe they did, by the way. All of these 133 students, they begin removing. And the ACLU is starting to do these very, very aggressive upfront lawsuits in a lot of these districts. In here, it says ICE abruptly and unlawfully terminated records on the Student and Exchange Visitor Information System, a database of Department of Homeland Security uses to monitor non-immigrant students. They just literally deleted them off of this that said they were okay, which is fucking insane.
How long before Trump recruits 12 to 16-year-olds?
I mean, he flew with Epstein, so we're way past recruiting 12 or 16-year-olds. The lawsuit claimed that by terminating records, ICE is ending a student's status and making them deportable. DHS's act of unlawfully terminating SEVIS records appears to be designed to coerce students, including each plaintiff, into abandoning their studies and self-deporting, despite not violating their status. Some of the students represented in the lawsuit are nearing graduation or are enrolled in work programs. Again, legally here. Many of the plaintiffs have been charged with traffic violations, in some cases minor misdemeanors, but later had the charges dropped. Others, including Jane Doe 12, have never been arrested or cited at all. The hearings are continuing, but this is the kind of place where we're at. These are the types of rules and laws that are happening. Rubio's cutting people. That the Trump administration is piece by piece dismantling and turning everything into a weapon. Linda McMahon, speaking of, as I mentioned earlier, if my wife has a significant amount of student debt. She was a student at NYU, had an amazing experience, and ultimately never was really, student debt is a bitch. It takes you on and it kind of destroys you. It eats at you for a very long time. Linda McMahon has decided that recollections on student debt is happening May 5th. So we have right now it's 2 weeks. And that's it. You're going to start seeing defaults across the board. And if you didn't know, defaulting on student loans is not great for you, but the reason that they're allowing students to default and kind of, kicking the can down the road is because as soon as you hit a certain number, things start falling apart. You can't have a lot of defaulting. This becomes a bad debt. And bad debt is the worst kind of thing. This isn't just a be nice to students thing. This is a, hey, we've got to make sure that things stay solvent thing. But Linda McMahon doesn't care about any of this. So we're going to see defaulting. We're going to see we're going to see credit scores drop. We're going to see people who already were not in a great place because, again, student loans, there are many stories of people who had $60,000 in student loans, pay it off over the course of 10 years, and now have $50,000 in student loans because the interest and the setup on this is it's brutal. And so the way they're talking about it, and this is, again, this is not the worst sentence that I'm going to be saying today. I have an RFK line coming up that I had to read the headline like 4 times before I was like certain I could even say it out loud. And it's phenomenal. But we have 42 million borrowers owing more than 1.6 trillion in debt. More than 5 million borrowers have not made a monthly payment in over 360 days and sit in default, many for more than 7 years. 4 million are in late-stage delinquency, 91 to 180 days. As a result, there could be almost 10 million borrowers in default in a few months. When this happens, almost 25% of the student loan portfolio will be in default. Yes, correct. That's why they keep saying we're going to let it go on. Like, I don't think these people understand how money works. I really don't think they understand how money works. I really don't think they understand how money works. To explain for Linda McMahon, if you ever watch this, because we know you are very hot on getting all the information you can to do everything you can to help the world. Those loan portfolios and the loans are against bonds. They're a financial instrument that exists elsewhere. And if that money is in default, you let it sit if you have the power to do that. You don't demand that it get pulled in, because the moment that that debt isn't going to be paid, and let's say it's 25% of the entire portfolio, that's, as you're putting it here, $350, $400 billion. That amount of money disappears from this, and it makes that portfolio not only worthless, but horrifying. And it makes everything surrounding it and everything attached to it also horrifying. And it's, again, I've been watching The Expanse lately. Expanse, one of maybe my favorite sci-fi show ever made. Stargate's close. But there's this scene in The Expanse where the botanist is looking at these plants that they use as part of the ecosystem that keeps, air breathing and everything. And he starts looking, he's like, oh my God, they're running out of nutrients. This is collapsing. And he starts explaining like the nature of the sort of collapse of an ecosystem, that it isn't one thing that does it, that you actually don't know, because the real world's incredibly complex. When you have smaller ecosystems, you don't really know what's going to cause the cascading failures of the rest of the system. And there's a line in there when Amos looks at him and goes, so what? They're going to be in trouble. He's like, no. Everyone here is already dead. They just don't know it. This is the kind of stuff that you see happening because they don't know what effect these actions will have. The next steps of this are where we have federal student loan portfolios in default. Students from other countries who come here, India, for example, they take student loans. Well, actually, we have 50% less applicants because of the immigration policies, which means our schools are going to be getting paid less, which means also the loan agencies and all of these things are going to be putting out fewer loans that are new, that are probably for people who might be able to pay them back or are actively, but we're going to instead have $400 billion worth of defaults. And the goal of this is to punish people who didn't pay without an understanding that actually what that means is this, then this, then this. And you don't know what the thing is that's going to cause the cascade failure, but this is one of those things. Because as soon as we hit this point and they're going to start garnishing wages and they're going to start pulling money from people, you're going to see an extraordinary amount of problems. This is what's coming. If you don't know, I find this horrifying as a choice. The FSA will restart the Treasury Offset Program administered by the Department of Treasury. All borrowers in default will receive email communications from FSA over the next 2 weeks, making them aware of these developments, urging them to contact the Default Resolution Group to make a monthly payment, enroll in an income-driven repayment plan, or sign up for local rehabilitation. Later this summer, FSA will send notices beginning administrative wage garnishments. Again, for a quarter of these people, which is 10.5 million people, these are, by the way, working people. These are people who are out in the world, in art. These are people who, my wife, who helped run my business for a while, paid back some, and then our business failed, and now she's taking care of the kids, and there's just no work out there. It's just not a place you can get work. It's other people who, a friend of mine has gone home to take care of his dad, who's very, very ill, and so he's not paying. Like, he doesn't make enough money to pay back those debt, but now they're going to be garnishing his wages, which he's getting, I believe, from Medicaid, a minor amount because he's a nurse. Like, these people are going to be completely fucked because of this. And all it's going to do is bring a minor amount of money into the government as people default and the overall student debt system becomes completely unworkable. It's an insane idea. And again, because they're not doing things to bolster the rest of it, this is the Republican mentality and mindset. Democrats aren't far from this. They're stupid too in their own way. But the Republican mindset is, this is what you promised. We've got to do the thing. You gave your word you'd pay this back. We're just trying to hurt our things, but they don't understand the ecosystem of it. When you have tariffs, as an example, and you do it to punish everyone because they have trade deficit for you, you have a baby-brained understanding of everything, but you're doing it to punish other people. And let's say that you could bring industry back. You're supposed to do it with punish them, but give a ton of money to those industries to bring them back. Give money to not just chip manufacturers, give money to every manufacturer if you wanted to do this. You don't. That's why you're not doing it. What you want to do is you want to punish people who do bad things, who aren't being nice, who aren't doing the right thing. And it's across the board. And the kind of people who are in charge of this and the kind of people who are the Homeland Security, Department of Homeland, the security, Kristi Noem, who is this plastic nightmare.
I tried to explain this to my family. The student loan pause left people with more money, and prices rose to gobble it up. People can't pay anymore.
They can't. People would pay back. The idea that people have student loans and they're like sitting on a beach somewhere laughing as they don't pay it off. This is the fantasy of the Republican Party and the conservative mindset that people just aren't doing the thing they promised that they would be doing. This is the fantasy. The reality is these are people who hold one or two jobs or are taking care of a family or are trying to make do with what they've got, and they get to the end of the month and there's no money left. They make the choice between health insurance, which you don't give people, or paying back student loans. And that's not really a fucking choice. It's not. It is to Republicans. They would say, you pay back the student loans, you don't get health insurance. That's how awful they are as people. And this is Kristi Noem, who, again, she's the Homeland Security Secretary. Like, she had her purse stolen with like a bunch of cash in it and a bunch of her shit. Like, it's hard for me to even, she went to Capital Burger, which is a great little place in Washington, fairly known. And a guy stole her fucking bag. I find this hilarious because, one, you're the head of Homeland Security and your fucking purse gets stolen because you don't pay that much attention to your own shit when you have $3,000. Her DSH badge was in there. Homeland Security badge. Her security badge. Her makeup bag, a bunch of blank checks, her passport, her medication, and her driver's license. And by the way, probably other shit that she doesn't want to mention in there. Like, just, you're not going to be like, and my special K, and you're not going to add that in. She claims she was using the money to buy gifts for Easter. Come on. Amazing. Again, these people are just ghouls at every step of the way, and this is just the ghoulish shit. But are you ready for the best headline? And by best, I mean it is simultaneously the most horrifying, but also the kind of thing that you would see in an Onion art. This is straight up this is not an Onion article. I checked. RFK Jr. set to launch disease registry tracking autistic people. I am of a generation where there are jokes I can make here that would be funny even to anyone who might be on this registry, because all I can think is like, so first off, what the fuck? Like, I had to think about this like a bunch of times. Because I can't conceive of a reason you'd want to do this. And I was in good faith. Let's say that I, as diagnosed, fun days, versus all the way to like the clinical entity of the autist who exists. If you don't know, I do readings of Anti-Oedipus. This is like, this type of mental condition is like central to a theory I read and work I do and a bunch of stuff. And all I can think is like, okay, if we go all the way to the end, and let's say I buy everything he's saying, that vaccines do this and create this and do this, why track that? What, like, is, I could make the joke that we know that autism is contagious because the 4chan's a thing. You can make jokes like that. You can, like, there's jokes. There's no things there that make any reasonable sense whatsoever. I don't get it. I don't get it. And here, this is where it gets scary. The subheadline. He's using private medical records to make it happen. I know 4chan's no longer a thing. It was never good. It was never a thing. It's just that, like, whatever. I'm an old man. I'm an old man yelling at trees. Deal with it. But again, what's the reason? What's the reason? He's using private medical records to create a registry of people with autism in the United States. The NIH is helping to collect private medical records from government. This is an Onion article. It is to collect private medical records from government and commercial databases to give the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Dr. Don't Give a Shit. The records include prescription records from pharmacies, lab tests. Is there autism drugs? Are there autism drugs? I mean, I know there's some level of those things, but like, is that a thing? Like an anti-autism drug? Why would cannabis? Depending on the person, everyone's got their thing. Ketamine, like ADHD. Again, the spectrum of the whole thing. But I need someone to. I don't get. So pharmacies. What the fuck information in a pharmacy is going to help you put people on an autism registry? Oh yeah, diagnosed with autism. That's why we're giving them Autistrate. Haven't you seen it on TV? It cures autism. Like, what the fuck is going on? Lab tests, because of the genetic testing for autism that they do, I guess. Although I did catch autism. That's why I shoved that thing up my nose. I go whoop, whoop, whoop. And then I put it in and I get, oh, look, I got autism. Shit, I got it. I better start calling people. Hey, tell my wife, hey, Heather, just let you know. I need to let you know I've been diagnosed. I've tested positive for autism. I think you should get tested. Genomics records, she has been. The genomics records from the Department of Veterans Affairs and Indian Health Services. Private insurance claims and data from smartwatches and fitness trackers. I have what data from a smartwatch? The NIH is also, this is just like the other side of insanity for me. Like the autism vaccine thing, I don't believe in any of that. I think it's stupid, and I think it's based in horrifying things. I get it, because what it is people scared of things they don't understand and drawing correlative relationships for things that happen to them. And when you're a parent and your child changes in a day, which happens to every parent, it's terrifying. When your kid is sick, it's terrifying. I have empathy for that position. This, I can't even think about it. Working on an agreement to secure Medicare and Medicaid data even, who said that select outside researchers will be able to access and study but not download the collected data from the registry, which is, I'm just going to let you know, if you can get access to data, you got the data. I can't. So are they like, okay, we're going to get all the smartwatch data. Find out how many times people rocked back and forth and put them on a list. Like, that's all it. What is an autistic thing that your smartwatch is going to tell you? The Department of Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has launched a study to examine links between autism and vaccines, which is crazy. The news that HHS is putting together a registry and accessing Americans' private medical records raises all kinds of privacy concerns. HHS and its departments, including NIH and CDC, have laid off thousands of employees, possibly giving Kennedy and Bhattacharya, another anti-vaxxer, more compliant employees to push their agenda. He is horrifying. Remember, he said that all of these things. Drawn criticism by calling autism preventable, made a claim that he can find a cure for the condition by September. So, love that. On top of it, his vaccination stance. He also said that how sad it was that all these kids who had autism would never be able to hold a job, get married, or go have a first kiss, I believe. We ain't making fun of people with autism. Is anyone in chat actually making fun of people with autism? This is one of those things that, like, as someone who's excessively mentally non-normative, this is one of those things that is so fucking absolutely nuts that it's really hard to even have a conversation around it. Like, this is so the other side of sanity. I mean, I do know most of the people in this community, at least in some aspect. And it's not a joke. I know who my audience is. I've been in my server for a long time, the QC. We have a significant amount of non-normativity in various ways. And it is a very gigantic spectrum. Super best friends. Autism is a broad spectrum. Lots of people going to be on that list. And that's where it's like, why? What in the fuck are you doing, dude? Like, what is your fucking damage? You fucking nutcase. Like, this piece of shit. Ostensibly, he's doing it. This is all I could figure out. That he's doing it so that way they can have a database of everyone who's been diagnosed, when they've been diagnosed, how severe it is. So they can then run that against the records of those people's vaccinations over time of various diseases and flu shots and everything else. That's my money of what they're going to do. They're going to do basically a large-scale multitudinal, like, massive U.S.-wide thing to see if there's correlation, which there will be, and then there won't be. Like, it's going to be really fucking stupid. Like, it's literally just running backwards. It's just running backwards into the thing. And it's wild.
I feel like such a basic bitch. I got my autism at Walmart when I was a kid.
I got mine apparently through my vaccinations, according to RFK. It's really wild. And again, he is...
As someone with diagnosed autism, this is horrible.
Well, and it makes me wonder, what is the range? Because Autism we tend to use as a catch-all, but there's, for a long time, Aspergery fucks like myself, and other things were sort of put into these positions. And all of these things were kind of early onset childhood autism. These, like, there's a lot of diagnoses and medical conditions and things that we call things. What is it that's going to be the thing that they're saying that is that? And again, putting everyone on a giant list and then having them collated and then running them against other data that you're going to make available to researchers that's not anonymized is fucking crazy. Can the ACLU block this? I have no idea. They're already doing it. Like, they're already doing this. Again, you have to remember, Doge has been knocking down all of the rules about how people get money, how people get access to data, where it's at. They've been sending everything to Russia. So, like, what the fuck? There's no walls. There's no stopping this. There's no stopping this. They're going to have a registry of autists. And it's like, what? Like, I don't get it. I really tried with this one. I genuinely did. Like, I spent a lot of time thinking through this, trying to figure out what is the reasoning for this. All that I can think is that they are going to basically make all of our records available, and they're going to run it against when we got diagnosed, or when, I'm assuming, behavior patterns started, because diagnoses don't just happen. Like, you don't go get a shot and then afterwards they do a finger prick and they go, oh, fuck, you got the autism. Sorry, you got it yesterday. Like, I don't even know how you could possibly think that this is a sound scientific theory. This is what happens when...
How do you, Brooks, solve the classic trolley problem?
The classic trolley problem? Did I jump off the trolley? I don't want to be on it to see that shit. The weird position that this puts things in is like, I genuinely don't get it. Like, when you are born into wealth, fame, and status, and that's what RFK Jr. is. He is the trifecta of those things. His name is known for one of the great politicians, whether or not that's true is a whole thing. Famous for being killed, mostly. Wealth, like you wouldn't believe, from really kind of super unethical backgrounds, but lots and lots of family and generational wealth and connections politically beyond your wildest dreams. And then on top of it, you have the wherewithal and the smarts to go get a law degree. So you have all of the ability to do anything in this world and visit your power however you do. And this is what you do with it, because you're so fucking stupid and your genetics played this poor of a role and mattered this fucking little. I can't answer the trolley problem. I did. Oh, and are you literally asking, like, do you pull the thing or not? Don't, or do. Doesn't matter. It's fine. Like, whatever. The wildness of this is crazy. And again, the continuing failure of multiple sons of wealth and politics and power, showing us how little wealth, like, they've earned is astonishing to me. Toddlers always rebel against their dad. Yeah, that's these people. Fascinating. People are very fascinating. Yeah, it's this is one of those things I found stunning. And I continue to find stunning, and I will. If anyone has a chance to find any more on this, or as it's happening, or if any of you get tagged by it or in it, So it doesn't matter if Israel stops the trolley against Palestine, then based on that logic. Wait. If you think that the trolley problem is whether or not to stop the trolley or let it go, I have a story to tell you about what the trolley problem is. Trolley problem is whether or not you divert it to kill someone else or kill the person in front of you. Core level. It's not about stopping it. If you can stop the trolley, you stop it. That's not the trolley problem. Jesus Christ. That's not the trolley problem. It's never been the trolley problem. Trolley problem. Jesus Christ. This is like a mimetic base format. It's, hey, if you do nothing, one person dies. If you do nothing, 5 people die. You pull it, 1 person dies. Sure, do what you're going to do. The person who built the trolley and put these people on that track and do these things, they're the ones at fault, probably. Again, it's fine. Pull the thing if it's 1-on-1. If it's 5v1, save the 5. Like, do what you can in that moment. Stop death as much as possible. I never said 0 people can die. But hey, just letting you know, that's how it works with Israel. They stop bombing. They stop killing.
How long before they try to take autistic guns away?
I don't think they'll go to that point. Because again, their point here is literally otherizing a very particular mental condition. And continuing to otherize people. So they can say things like, hey, it's not so much a social or a material generation of people that is creating autism at record numbers that's doing this. It's not social. It is biological, and it's here's the cure and here's the thing, and it can go away and we can make the perfect person. Because that's, again, the Republicans is all they can think about is there a perfect person? Is there a best person? It's a childish thing overall. It's a childish thing overall. And that mental state, I mean, puts people in the position of, for example, coming to a chat and asking about the trolley problem as if that's like a reasonable thing because it's a hyper abstraction at the symbolic level that they can then relate to anything they want because they're not caring about the actual lived experience of anything that's happening. Give me a real situation and I'll tell you about the stories of what matters. But just
here, so you can ignore stupid questions.
Thank you very, very much. It's very kind of you. I still like stupid questions sometimes, though. I do. But hey, Sunday is always like, Brooks, don't listen to chat. Fucking ignore chat. They suck. But it's, at a base level, that's the reality of how the symbolic representational mind works. It's, hey, I have a representation of things that isn't equivalent to any lived experience of anyone who's ever been there, but I want to tell you about those symbols so then I can then apply it to anything I want to because I don't really give a shit about anything. The reality is that people in any given situation, all of it is up to them and the forces at play, and it's not a choice. It's rarely a choice, especially a reactive moment like this. So it's a very stupid thing to sort of care about. It's a very stupid thing to care about. But what are you going to do? That's the nature of things. Let's oversimplify as much as possible so that way I can get moral dunks on you or I can put you in a category. Oh, now you're like they did. You're utilitarian. Oh, more lived experience. Great. Good for you. Like you've created a scenario that is so abstract that it bears nothing on the real world or anyone's lives. Nice. You presume reason is at the basis of everything. Nice. These childish ways to viewing things overall. And it frustrates. Always frustrates. What are you going to do? I know what you're going to do. We're going to start talking about tariffs and gamers. So, if you didn't know, we're already seeing the effects of the Trump tariffs across the board. Like that's the 2,000 years of the West was childish. My God. I love you. Oh God. AIs are like really getting good at this. It's fantastic. We're starting to see the effects of tariffs across the boards. And again, since people don't really understand how they work, I've been waiting and I was going to be heading down. I'm in Portland. So actually going out to the shipping yards taking photos, talking to people. They're very open, by the way. People who work in the shipping industry are very open about how fucked they are, because shit is showing up and people aren't claiming it, because as long as it doesn't get claimed, it doesn't come across customs. You don't get nailed with it. This is a thing that has been like 30, 40 years known. There are you might call them demilitarized, detaxed zones right on the other side of customs that really rich people keep their paintings. Like 10, 20, 30, 50, $100 million paintings in these, very beautiful climate controlled warehouses under lock and key, under lots of security, because their goal is not actually to ever display it. Most of the time they actually have fakes that they display as a thing in their homes or that they donate. And they have the real thing over there because then they own it and it appreciates. The moment that they take possession of that, the taxes are ruthless on that importation tax. So for a long time, they just leave stuff over there and then they'll sell it and they'll leave it in that place to someone else. It's amazing how they get away with this. Well, now importers are doing the same thing. They're doing it across the board with computer parts. They're doing it across the board with board games. They're doing it with toys. People are just not pulling stuff in because Trump's tariffs are absolutely decimating multiple industries. It's really wild. It's really wild as a thing. So it's Sart is garbage. You're just, oh God, these people it didn't do very good on that one. That's not even a sentence. They'll figure it out. Look, AI is going to turn a corner at some point. I promise. It'll be AGI. It'll be really, really there. It'll be great. The downstream effects, we're seeing the downstream effects now. You may not notice it, but we're seeing the downstream effects now. And this video by Gamers Nexus, we are not going to watch the entire thing, because if you didn't notice, this is not a 5-minute video. This is a solid fucking 3 hours of visiting computer makers, visiting computer builders, visiting parts makers, repair shops. He gets a whole bunch of people that I love their YouTube channels, and also other people that I've worked with, which is fucking crazy, across Cooler Master. God, who else does he talk to? Cyberpower, a few others, and companies like that, all the way to Lewis Grossman. God damn it, what's his name? The repair guy who's always fucking angry sitting in an armchair. My brain's not working. Anyway, he gets all of them, and he actually goes through, and these people shared their actual numbers, which you don't see people doing with a YouTuber that often. Hey, here's what it costs us to make. Here's what it costs to come in. But multiple competing companies do this and actually walk him through their warehouses, walk him through their manufacturing floors, and talk through the entire thing. Louis Rossmann, thank you. I was going to say Grossman. Why the fuck would I say Grossman? It's Rossmann. Fucking the angry armchair guy. One of my favorite angry armchair guys. He's great. He's fucking great. But we're going to skip around a little bit because there's a handful of sections. This first one I wanted to go through, and I recommend watching the whole video. It's beautiful. Channel plug before the segment started. Fair enough. I'll also do a channel plug for Gamers Nexus also after this.
Today we're investigating NZXT's shady.
Gamers Nexus is awesome. But right now, how are you doing? I hope all of you are well. You are watching In the Fold with Brooks and Sunday, or at least just Brooks today. Sunday will be returning again on Friday. He had some personal stuff. Everyone send love to Sunday. Everyone send love to Sunday. He may need it today because it's a tough day. But we love doing this. We love doing this because we think that there's a need to actually talk about how depressing the news is and kind of not let up from that. We try to do lighter stuff on the weekend, Friday-ish. But we think that there's a need for a little bit of a deeper analysis, a return to things that seem repetitive because most news.
I am well.
Thank you, C-Slick. There's a need to keep coming back to stories that most channels will go away from. And there's also a need to move away from, look at how stupid these people are, without more analysis. The owning the shitty takes. We think this is important, and we hope you do too. If you like what we're doing, please do subscribe and like the stream. Always good. Really helps us get moving. If you if you're up for it, a membership is fantastic. We will be doing members only content. We'll be doing some handful of members only selection of streams. And you can do all of this, either super chats here in YouTube, memberships here, or you can head over to our link that we've got. Nightbot is posting up a handful of times at Stream Elements to give us a tip there. So you can yell various things at us as well. And we really appreciate all the support. We really do, even from you AI people. It's great. Evangelists of nihilism. Maybe. Depends. It depends. Nihilism's complicated. But Gamer Nexus is fantastic. They've done a whole bunch of really fantastic sort of investigative hardware computer videos. I don't know how else to describe it. They're investigative journalists kind of. When I was growing up, Endora, thank you very much for the 10 gifted memberships, and Taken, welcome to Orizuru. It's wonderful to have you here. I've been
to Rome, your West is barbarian. Become a Chad like the gay Greeks.
I've been getting my cranes in order. So I'm trying to get to my 1,000 cranes before Sunday does. I'm starting to get quite good at it. It's starting to get fast. I'm hoping I'm moving into the fancier paper soon enough. But when I was growing up, we had on AM radio, especially like investigative journalists, local, like I Am the Reporter, who go to like a business and take them down, or a repair shop scamming its people. Like Gamers Nexus is that for gamers. I don't know how else to put it. Like they're doing that as a thing. They go after, if you haven't seen on their channels, they go after a ton of people. And mostly they go after the big guys. NVIDIA, shitting on them for some of the things they've been doing with their 5060s or other things that they've been doing. Fantastic work across the board. I adore Gamers Nexus. This video though is like next tier freakish good. So the first thing we're gonna be doing is talking through the Made in the USA will entice me to actually buy your products. We're going to talk through a couple of steps of this one. This one is the just make it in the USA rationality. We'll be jumping around, but enjoy yourself.
So all of this is, why not make it in America? We'll start with CyberPower, which actually already does build the computers in America, in California. In fact, that's the only place they build them, and they have hundreds of employees who do it. Now, CyberPower assembles computers. They don't make the components that get assembled into the computers, but this is interesting because when people think of a motherboard factory, they might think the entire board is made in that factory. But in actuality, that factory is just like CyberPower. It's assembling all the parts from over 100 other factories down chain, with typically about 10 to 20 major component suppliers for one motherboard. So really,
when we were talking before about how the fantasy that Trump has and Republicans in general have about how the overall economy works and how manufacturing works, that hasn't been a thing for 40 or 50 years. The idea of a factory that makes a thing, or even a factory that like mostly makes a thing. Now, what they are is every factory or every manufacturing hub is actually like a filter with 1,000 plugs into it. And those 1,000 plugs are themselves also factories with their own plugs going into it. And this large multinodal network of manufacturing that exists is the challenge. And you can't bring all of that onshore. You can't simply onshore all of that.
An SMT line for a motherboard is the same concept as an assembly line for a pre-built PC. They're bringing in parts from lots of other places to put them into a product.
Yeah, I think it starts off with your question, which is like, do we want to make things in America, and how would we go about doing it, right? Mm-hmm. And that's, of course, a question we think about all the time. We always think about, where we source things. The more we control, the better. But this is just represents one out of like anywhere between 9 to 10 components that make up the basics of a computer. Mm-hmm. So the first thing we'd have to do is talk to all the manufacturers that make this motherboard and ask them to bring this motherboard production over to America.
Right.
And now, while these companies might bring the motherboard production manufacturer over to America, they don't actually make all the parts that make up this motherboard. Mm-hmm. There could be anywhere between 10 to 20 other companies that make up these individual parts that are still being made in other countries.
MSI had given me numbers years ago, how many components are on a motherboard, counting all of the tiniest resistors and caps. And on a high-end board, top of my head, it was thousands of components, counting all.
How fast can Elon build a factory? Well, again, this is the fun part. Building a factory is year and a half. It pulls up, and that was very quick, and that's with him genuinely getting sued constantly by environmental groups by not caring. So let's assume that we don't give a shit about the environment or the impact or the people that live around it. For example, Zuckerberg and Facebook and Meta put in a data center that uses so much water that the entire community of some 10,000 people now have none. None. And so they have their water shipped in, so a data center can take most of their water. Let's assume we don't care about that, which is bad, but let's assume that. That's still just a factory for assembling. Do you know where Tesla's batteries are made, where its computer parts are made, where all of its pieces of its motherboard are made? It's a computer, by the way. Where its tires are made, where its wheels are made, where any of its structural elements are made, where any part of it is made. Is all of it in America? No. So it doesn't matter. You can start onshoring stuff, and that will save you minor amounts of money, but it doesn't save you the whole nut. So if you have to, for example, eat a 90% tariff because stuff's coming from China and you're in particular organizational stuff of it, and it's going to cost you $500 million to bring a factory here, what is the profit loss on that makes bringing the factory here worth it, given that you're also not going to be bringing everything else? The answer is not very much. There's just not a reason. He'll go into that. Other people go into that, but it's a big thing. It's kind of the problem. Factories are very expensive, and the profit made off of that factory to make it profitable, because the government's not subsidizing it, has to come from these costs. So why spend $500 million? Why not subsidize then? Take that $500 million and just subsidize your own computers here. Just subsidize them. You'll continue to sell them. You eat the cost. We're sitting here complaining we could be innovating. I mean, we're talking about policies.
All the smallest.
Wow.
Ones.
Yeah.
So a lot makes up a motherboard.
Yeah, and so these guys who make these things, they specialize in it. They make just that one thing. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's so important that when they have a problem at their factory, all the motherboard companies start having problems. They all source from this one guy in China or wherever. So you'd have to bring all those component manufacturers over as well to bring it to say that it's made in America and avoid the tariff. But once you do that, these guys that make this plastic or this aluminum, they also have to source their raw materials from somewhere else, which then ends up having a tariff as well. So no matter how many companies we bring over to try to complete this ecosystem, this supply chain, somewhere.
Any president, including this one, can remove the tariffs on a second's notice. Not really worth betting on building a factory which need imported parts.
Wait, okay, so you're saying that a capricious president who does things on a whim for no reason and has absolutely no plan behind it and has constantly changed his mind on things on the daily basis, investing $1 billion in something that might go away tomorrow is a bad business decision? That's a very interesting idea. Also with that is, given that Trump has shown consistently that he will break not only his own trades and trade policies and trade contracts he has, not just personally, but as a country, because he broke his own trade negotiation deals that he put in place during his first presidency to do these tariffs. Why would you ever begin dealing with him? This is why China's not actually dealing with him as a thing. This is why most countries aren't. They have no idea what he wants because he doesn't want anything. He just wants control and power and all that dumb shit because he's really, really stupid. He's very stupid. And so why would you then, as a country, negotiate with someone that you know could upend it and doesn't care about contracts? I've been in a business meeting with high-level games guys, and one of them said, I will never forget it as long as I live, when he went, look, we can put whatever we want in the contract. Who gives a shit? I mean, if I don't want to, I just won't do it. It was like, dude, like bad faith out the gate. It changes how you negotiate with that person. It's crazy. It changes how you negotiate with Trump too. So not only do we have someone who's capricious and doesn't give a fick and have a fucking clue about any of this stuff, but he's changing his mind constantly. And already the hints are that he's going to reduce the tariffs on China. Well, if he does it by even 50%, why would you spend any money? Just wait. Just wait. Just wait. 500 billion of investments promised. Dude, like, this is the thing with Republicans and conservatives, and they don't understand what 500 billion in investments is. When Meta says they're going to invest $1 billion in a data center, that just means they're going to like put stuff in their own data centers. That doesn't mean they're investing $1 billion in stuff that's going to generate jobs. Do you know what generates jobs? Demand. Demand for products generates jobs. If a person can, who's in a company, make more money by hiring someone, they will do it because that's how companies work. It's actually very, very, very simple. And so as people can sell things, they'll do that. But they're not going to invest $1 billion over time. Like, again, you'll see over time, it's the same thing that happened the first time. If you don't remember, Trump had everyone. China was going to build this and this and this. We had these billions of dollars in investments the first time around, and then none of them got made. Like, yeah, he's doing it again, but somehow you don't remember the first time. Magic, you people. Fucking magic.
Somewhere along the line, there's still going to be sources that must be tariffed and made overseas. And then you'd have to bring that entire process all the way up to this, to the final process of us putting this into a computer, all into America. The goal of the tariff was to bring manufacturing back to America, was the argument, right? But at the same time, it is a good goal. It's a goal that we undoubtedly want to achieve. But is this the right way to do it is probably where I would say, no, I don't think that this is the right way to do it. There's other ways to do it. And now that you understand the complexity, and hopefully your viewers understand this huge supply chain and how it works, that they realize that it's not something you could turn on overnight. That's just the main thing. It's achievable, but it requires a lot of people work together, and it could take decades or years to really achieve this while still making the product affordable, because we haven't talked about that yet. Even bringing all this stuff to America doesn't guarantee that it's affordable. So people who are thinking about doing this, they have to consider all these other things. What is the...
And it's again, amazing. So let's bring all of the jobs here, the jobs that are being paid sub-dollar an hour in China. We want to bring those jobs here and have them paid $15 to $18 an hour. I know you don't, but let's follow with it because we do have minimum wages in states and we haven't gotten rid of it. That will have an impact on the end cost, especially if it's all the people in the entire supply chain. It's fucking insane. It's just so silly. Tariffs are awesome for keeping stuff like food production in your country so you don't rely on someone in the chaotic evil. Tariffs have a place. Like I'm not going to say they don't have a place. They're useful. I think if you were to do tariffs on certain goods in China to demand that China upgrade its workers and its ability for its workers to actually have more power, get paid more, be treated better. Tariffs can be used like that. They have been in the past, by the way. Tariffs have been used to force social change in other countries. They've been used to, a ton of stuff. You can do things. Again, in my ideal fantasy world, I'm not utopian. We live in a place that this is a thing you can do. But like, what the fuck are we thinking when it comes to how these tariffs go out and how they will actually impact everybody? Because across the board, there's no winners here. There's no winners, anyone. And it's just a net loss, except for every time he does it, that he crashes the market and then buys a bunch of stock like Mark and all those guys did, and then says something to make it go back up. And then those guys sell. And then he says something and didn't crash it. Pump and dump the literal stock market is amazing as a thing. It's genuinely stunning. What did I say? Thinking? I don't know. I don't know what I said.
What's the cost going to be? Will people be willing to pay for it?
Worldwide manufacturing.
Again, he's just going from PC maker to PC maker and having these conversations. It's genuinely amazing.
Is anywhere from sort of $2 to $3 to $4 an hour, typically. Here, the minimum wage in most states is 15 to 20, but most people want more than that.
Right. $7.25 where I live. Yeah.
Wow.
$7.25.
But you can see that even if you did that, most people aren't going to sign up en masse to do. The 4 million unemployed Americans aren't looking for sub $10 jobs, certain hour jobs. So I think that it's very, very difficult to move manufacturing back.
I'll use a computer case because it's the one I was the product manager for the longest. If you use a computer case, you think about the cardboard box, the ink that is printed on that cardboard box, the tape that's used to shut the cardboard box, the foam inside the cardboard box, the paper the manual's printed on with that ink. The case itself has steel, it has glass, it has maybe aluminum, it has some ABS plastics, it has rubber for rubber grommets, sometimes different durometers of rubber. Screws that come from one factory, fans.
This is a guy who's been doing this shit a long time.
Which are usually either bought from a fan
motors for fans, blades for fans,
wiring, the connectors that go into the 3 or 4 pin headers. You know, all of those elements have to come from somewhere. So there's a supply chain that goes, you know, decades back into who started this factory that makes nothing but screws. And that's right down the street.
Factory.
Yeah, the screw factory is 2 blocks away from the case factory, which is next door to the cardboard factory, which is next door to the ink factory, which is next door to the foam factory. And if you want to go from I have nothing to I have a completed product in one city block, you can do it in China. You can't do that in North America easily right now. And it would take a long time to get to that point.
This question came up.
It's a stunning set of choices that he's made for this. I love the way this guy describes it because if you haven't been like a goddamn, is it Dragon Market in Shanghai? There are a series of the most extraordinary sort of tech outlets, multi-story, small vendor, like malls filled with shit like you would not believe because the stuff's being made not far away. And so it's astonishing to sort of walk through. Just to sort of return to what happened to the... So first time around with Trump, let's talk about these things because I think it's important that we actually revisit some of these stories because if you don't remember, we've been through this and we don't really need to have a conversation like in general about what billions of dollars invested actually means. So Foxconn, if you remember, we did this already once where we threatened China with tariffs. We didn't actually do it last time, despite saying we would many times. And we used that pressure to get Foxconn to give $10 billion to a project. They're investing so much. They kind of changed that deal a little bit. They've changed it to $672 million from 10. The new jobs created is now 1,454 from 13,000. And it's not there yet, by the way. It doesn't exist as a thing. It's like a big empty field. And it's been 7 years. It was supposed to be a 20 million square foot mega factory. The largest investment in U.S. history for a new location by a foreign-based company. And Trump touted this to no end. And it's just not fucking happening. It's just not happening. The village where the plant is located paid just over $152 million for 132 properties to make way for Foxconn. The state used eminent domain, paid a fuck ton of people for the land in order to make it happen, and then granted that land to them, plus $7.9 million in relocation costs, according to village records obtained by Wisconsin Public Radio. Foxconn said the new agreement gives it flexibility to pursue business opportunities in response to changing global market conditions. That's what $10 billion gets you. Fucking nothing. And again, they've paid out. This has cost Wisconsin, the village itself, $160 million. And they're saying at this point that they're going to actually only be bringing 72 million in investments. So we're already cutting the fuck out of that. Good job. This is what $10 billion in investments gets you when it's a lie, because that's what he's doing. He lies. Duh.
Up in every single interview we did, and it interrupted the flow too much and lost some of the meaning when we tried stripping it out in the edit to shove it all into one section. So we'll talk more about this throughout the entire video with everybody as we go. It'll be time-stamped. Our first big meeting is with Height. Height is a computer case manufacturer.
This is incredible, by the way. This is why I recommend watching the entire video, because this is not a 20-minute video essay that's shockingly edited and put together. This is him methodically going through Here is the actual fucking cost. We're going to look at the goddamn Excel spreadsheets for these companies.
We're headquartered in City of Industry, California. This meeting includes unique insights to the actual costs and margin structure of some products, which helps us to understand the real dollar amounts affected by tariff changes. And
they're so fucked that they were like to a YouTuber, yeah, you want to film our books? Because imagine how fucked does a company have to be like, yeah, come in and film our books.
This kind of access is very uncommon. All right, so this is really important. This is something that
manufacturers... He's underselling that. He's underselling that a little bit. And I kind of like it. This access is uncommon. This is fucking absurd. This is absurd that he got not just one company, by the way. A lot of companies did this. It's uncommon. I adore him. It's very humble about it. This is insane. And this video alone is all you kind of need to understand how fucked we are with tariffs.
Manufacturers are reasonably very secretive about, and it's the cost to actually make something, bring it in. It's basically the cost of the good itself, and that means we're going to see margin. This is incredibly rare. Height has broken down the cost of a Y40.
You don't share margin publicly. Why would you ever do that?
And then a thick Q80, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so we'll do a quick preview, and then we'll cut back and explain it.
So I think this is really an explanation of why we can't even afford to bring the products into America any longer.
And I'm here to show you how it is to make a Y40 and what its cost structure is. Mm. So before we start planning any product, we start estimating the monthly run rate and
We're just opening our fucking Excel spreadsheets. One sec, let me turn the brightness down so you can see it. This fucks with my head just watching it. And I've watched this part a couple times. That's why we're watching it. Because I think it is like the most telling. But it's a stunning thing. I'm actually going to turn the filter off for this. And yeah, it's about what it is for me. I don't think I'll be able to make it much more readable.
How many months it's gonna be in the market. Mm-hmm. So we start with 2,000 units per month, a lifetime of 24 months, and a total of 48,000 units per lifetime. During pre-production, we had 3 mock-ups that were made. We had an NRE development cost of $30,000 and a tooling cost of totaling $239,000.
NRE.
Tooling is where you help build in the warehouse the order of tools, the order of setup, the machinery, how it puts together, how it works, and you get samples and you say, this is wrong, this is incorrect, setting margins of error, sitting with calipers on shit. If you've never done tooling, it's a wild process. And I can only imagine how crazy it is for something like this.
NRE stands for?
Non-refundable engineering.
Okay.
So that's like using services from a factory to help do the engineering for the product.
And then non-refundable tooling.
Yeah.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
So our total pre-production investment totaling $286,000, which amortized per unit of 5.98, so $6. So before everything happened, before February 1st, our FOB price from the factory.
If you're okay with sweatshops, you don't give a shit about sweatshops. Don't fucking act like it otherwise. I don't care about my own hypocrisy. Grow up.
Is 71.75, and you could see all the events that happened. This is blank. So our tariff charge is $0. Our case per pallet, now we go into freight. Our case per pallet is 20 cases per pallet, 30 pallets per container, and 600 cases per container. So now we start calculating how much is per unit's freight charge. $6,000 per container, divide by 600, $10 per unit. 1,500 of documentation fee, trucking fee, unloading fee, and port fees. This is known as the local charge, amortized to $2.50. So the total freight charge per Y40 to bring into the US door to door is $12.50. So if we add up that all together, our FOB price is $71.75 plus the freight in.
We can shorten a little bit. The landed cost across the board to bring it in prior to the tariffs, landed cost is $92.23. They have some level of margin for themselves, and then they have an MSRP for the retail margin. So they make around $5 per unit. That's what they're going to be talking about, just to sort of simplify it. Amortized is essentially means what it costs per case for the order based on time and other things. Yeah, yes, essentially. They're
$12.50.
And again, I'm guessing that I don't know literally how they're doing amortization. It's not a thing you do. There's not an amortization button on a calculator. So there's a lot of ways to think through it.
Storage fee of $2 and an amortized investment of $5.98.
And this is all per unit.
This is all per unit. Our landed cost would be $92.23. In order to sell at $129 MSRP and to have the retail margin of 25%, our height margin would be $5.27.
No, Taken, this is one of those things that I think is important, and why I'm amazed and almost grateful that he's doing this video. A lot of people have a very significant misunderstanding of how much money is made by anyone in the process before we actually get a product. A lot of people think that people do, because of people who do drop shipping, they buy shit off of fucking Temu, and then they add their sticker to it for their brand, and then they sell it. They buy it for 5 cents and they sell it for $20. And everyone thinks that's how it works from China. And that's not how it fucking works. Everyone is competing to get their prices down as much as possible in businesses like this. They are not a monopoly. They are not the biggest one on the block. They don't have known brand. Like Height's decent cases as far as I'm aware. They're good even, but they're not like, known. They're not Dell. They're not HP. They're not Alienware. I'm not saying those are good cases. I'm saying those are known quantities of cases. So they can trade on the expense. Alienware famously is just a name you're mostly paying for the vast majority of it. So these guys don't have that ability to trade. Every step of the way, the factory is not making $100 on a $130 case. Everyone in the process is making small amounts of money in order to get it to the very end. Even retail margins only $30. And by the way, retail margin $30 is fucking wildly low. You're talking about taking on the risk, having the physical footprint of that in storage or whatever it is, carrying that risk with you as you go. And on top of it, the loss, the damaged products, replacing, servicing, crazy shit. None of it is like making you a fortune. That's not how any of it works. It's not a single stop of it is going to be making you a fortune. And everyone has this drastic misunderstanding of how much money is in all of these things. And employees, stock, rent, like Amazon is the best case scenario for this because retail margin of $30, it sells, but then Amazon takes their cut over the entire thing, not just the margin. They take their cut of the whole thing. So if they take 10, 15% of $130, well, that retail margin of your store is now gone. So it completely fucks everyone. It's wild. And Sister Godiva actually understands how capitalism works. Thank you for joining, by the way. It's lovely to have you. If anyone had a super high margin, they would then sell it for cheaper to make the good case cheaper. So people would buy a very good case for cheaper. And then everyone else would get fucked. Like these are the margins. I didn't know it was this literal low. I assumed it was like $10 to $15. I didn't know $5 a unit is insanely shit margins.
While we take 5% margin.
Is that retail margin pretty standard?
Retail margins are pretty standard. They are really hard to negotiate that percentage.
Okay.
And it looked like per container, they're talking about having 600 units. So they're talking about making $3,000 a container profit landed.
Is basically nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you might.
Oh, no. So 600 per container. Okay. So that's. No, I was right the first time when I said that. Per unit's $10 per container, 6,000. Jesus.
Call it a kind of lost leader, right?
Yeah.
This became a product.
This is a Height, HYTE, case manufacturer. We're going to be seeing other ones as we go through this too. It's crazy.
That we were effectively just growing market share with, making about $5.
And again, tariffs don't hurt capitalism. So Jimbo, to just add a little bit of color, tariffs don't hurt capitalism. Capitalism is a system of trying to find a way to ultimately create the largest variability and derivative within the value of any given singular thing in a momentary time of actualization of capital, which is a short way of saying profit. But when we start actually having tariffs involved, the state's job, and again, Marx wrote about this, and he's not wrong. And Adam Smith wrote about this too, by the way. The state's job is to help regulate its economy. And so a state can come in, like China. For example, China has tariffs. And how China's made tariffs work for them is by having tariffs overall for imported goods, but then pouring money and subsidizing the fuck out of industry in ways that it's actually kind of impossible for us to even consider. City land, if you turn it into residential, I think there's like 100x like cost on top of it. If you do industrial, it was much cheaper for a long time. They've changed some of these rules because people don't want to live next door to factories, but the amount of subsidizing China's doing is huge. So what you could do is then, because you're spending so much money internally building factories, you prep for these things and you have these things sort of set up. And what ends up doing is it brings a lot of that stuff internally, especially if you're a growing country. America's not a growing country, not in that sense. We actually do a lot of what you might call the highest end labor, the most valuable, the stuff that China's trying to import, the stuff that a lot of other countries are trying to build out. Design firms, ad firms, engineering firms, R&D firms, the people who actually build and put the wafer in place and set it up and do that R&D for all the chips, they're not in Taiwan. They're not in China. They're in San Jose, Seattle, New York. Like, we do that top tier, and the manufacturing is then placed into that larger setup in order to make the cheapest possible product, because that's all capital cares about. When you add tariffs to that process, you're presuming we want to bring back all of these lowest level jobs, and without actually putting money into it, which they're not, you're not going to have them. It's wild. It's wild as a thing.
And you can see the retailer, they have no problem with that because the retailer was still making their 25% margin. They're making $32.49 while we made $5.27. And this is pre-tariff, mind you, right?
Okay.
So, you can imagine now if you add any tariff to this, the response isn't like, oh, we need to go and reimagine how we build these things. It's this product is non-viable. We can't sell products at this price anymore.
Yep.
And this is how you get to potentially not bringing them to the U.S.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah. All right. It gets worse. So.
It gets worse. So, 2018, there was a tariff called Section 301. It was a 25% tariff on certain items. The case was excluded, but that will end. It might extend, it might end during May 31st. So we put a price right here, so we'll show the cost a little later. February 4th, we have the 10% tariff on the cases. So that increased our costs by $7.18. During March 4th, there was a 20% increase on tariff on the case, so brings our costs additional $14.35. During March 12th, there was a 25% aluminum tariff, but this doesn't apply to the case. This applied to some of our coolers. During April 5th to April 8th, there was a 10% reciprocal tariff that was added that increased the cost by $7.18. And currently, we have a 125% reciprocal tariff that increased our costs by $89.60.
Reciprocal, I guess.
Fucking wild. Emoy, you don't understand economics. It's very cute. You're very cute, but again, you're tiring. You're starting to get tiring, my friend.
Their word here.
Quotes.
Yeah.
Reciprocal.
Quotes. Yeah. Okay.
So you start looking down our landed cost here during different times. Now, during the first wave, it would be $99, and it increased to $106, $113, and then $196, and then May it would be $214.
The value of the dollar is collapsing under these tariffs. Stupid.
If they don't extend the exclusion.
So $196.26.
I thought a lot about return to office. Wouldn't capitalism make companies remove offices if they can? Why do they want me in office?
So there's a couple reasons. The biggest is that they understand one of the, my company, I had 35 employees. We were 100% remote, and I believe in remote work. But remote work is a thing that you have to be like on the side of, because a lot of companies don't like the idea that you don't have to work 40 to 50 to 60 hours a week to do your job. They're paying you in their heads. They're paying you to do hours of work and time. If you view it instead as I'm paying you to do your job, if you can do that job in 20 minutes, I don't give a shit if what you do the rest of your week. They want you there to be getting the full amount of your labor for that time. That's the reason. One. So they view it, and this is in the games industry, for example, the biggest one. The games industry very much wants people to be working as much as possible. It's famous to do 100-hour weeks. I've slept at multiple offices and wore it as a badge until I got very tired of it. It's the worst, but they breed you into wanting to do that. And they don't want to lose that. They don't like the idea of people working less, even though they're doing much of the same work. They want you to be working. The second reason is that the vast majority of investors who are invested in all these companies are also invested in commercial real estate, which, if you didn't know, is having a tough time right now. To say the least. Give me 2 seconds. We'll grab an article up. That's from a year ago. From Harvard Business Review says, well, you know what? We'll just say this is a year ago, and this is a fairly alarming headline. So, just as an example, Harvard Business Review, that famous socialist rag, Harvard, is saying that they're headed towards a crisis. It's a cute sort of way to put it. It's actively fucking happening. People are not going out and shopping. Malls are closing across the board. Commercial shops are closing. People aren't buying at retail anymore because they don't have money. Dollar stores are closing. Just take a second to think about that one. And on top of it, cities like San Francisco, 1 sec, I can see you right. Come on, load. I worked in San Francisco for a decade. I was at New Montgomery and Market for a while. And then I worked in the Presidio and lived downtown through most of that. This is, and they don't track this anymore, by the way. They really don't want to talk about this anymore. But if you can see, literally, this is 2018 pre-pandemic to 2024. Pandemic ended and vacancy went up. So everyone thought there was going to be a return to office. Not only was there not a return to office, businesses kept closing down and shutting down. The office vacancy rate in San Francisco has collapsed. We're over 30% vacant. And the money that is invested into portfolios of commercial real estate is kind of the same thing as money that's invested in portfolios of stock or oils or futures or anything else. And when that is valueless, which it is at this point, and it has shown for years that it's valueless as a thing. When that starts to collapse, this is again the cascade. What's the thing? All of these things are tied together. All of it's tied together. But this is where we're just completely fucked. This is end of 2024 is the last measurement they have of this. And we were at a nice solid 34%. So if they make you go back to work, because we were miserable doing that and no one wants to do that, and people who work from home are quite happy to work from home. They're very happy to work from home. They want you to be unhappy because they'd rather have that rent being paid than have that problem start to grow, because that's who controls everything. Money, capital. I once heard that converting office buildings to housing isn't worth it. Costs are too high unless the government subsidizes and supports it, maybe. Yeah, it's one of those things. 1 sec. I just want to, because again, this is where you start having the dumbest shit that exists every time. This fucking San Francisco is why there's a reason I use San Francisco as my example. Transamerica Pyramid is a very, very iconic building in San Francisco. And this is making me ill. Why would you have this go this fast with the 4 photos? For more than 2 decades, the international law firm Morgan Lewis called One Market Plaza its home in San Francisco. The property, which features 2 office towers flanked by a historical annex, sits at the terminus of Market Street with an unobstructed view of the Embarcadero waterfront and Bay Bridge. It's a beautiful space, a beautiful view for sure. But despite the top-tier location, Morgan Lewis began searching for a new home in 2023, less than 3 years left on its lease. Firm took its first tour of the Transamerica Pier last April, sources say, found itself returning the property repeatedly over other listings. Even though New York developer Michael Chavot's building was still a construction site, Morgan Lewis got an offer it couldn't refuse. 7 floors, 123,000 square feet, and a promise from the landlord to spend upwards of $350 per square foot on renovations. That's how desperate these fuckers are to get people into these buildings. $350 per square foot. Let's do some fun math. It's a lot, by the way. 123,000 times 350 is $43 million on upkeep and retrofitting for these 7 floors in order to bring them in. And this is happening across San Francisco. Morgan Lewis signed a 20-year lease at the Transamerica Pyramid last month. Spokesperson said the firm intends to move in the first quarter of 2026. This is an extremely wild thing that we're starting to see. This is a completely different world than where it was when the Transamerica building effectively became Salesforce HQ. And then everyone kind of just left. One trophy building wins at the expense of another. It's how it goes, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, the owners who were able to revamp or upgrade their buildings during the fallow period are securing prime leases as more companies seek a reputed physical space to push for in-person work. Yeah. Overall asking rent is dropping. Direct asking rent is dropping. We are seeing the pressure is significant. And again, the money that has been spent on these buildings, and this is in New York too. San Francisco is just my favorite version because I know these buildings. They're completely fucked, and it's one of those things that just changes all of it. One Market Plaza is huge. It's a great place. It's incredible. It's One Market Plaza. It's on here. We'll do Embarcadero. I'm a scooter guy, so I used to take my scooter out all the fucking time. And I have a Vespa. No, come on. We'll go here. No, stop. Fuck off. Stop fucking. God damn it. Go here. Is that the drop? That's the drop I want. We'll just do this here. Fine. This is the end of the Embarcadero right here. I fucking love this entire. Frustrating. I adore all of this space. What the fuck? Are you serious? Take me back outside. I want to see the. God, I hate Google so much sometimes. There's a huge market in here. It's amazing. The view is astonishing, as you can see. And One Plaza is right here. It's famous, actually, the area. And so when we talk about like everything that's here, news stations, people, it's
correct me if I'm wrong, but having taught some Econ 101 courses, this is really just basic cost acquisition calculation. I don't get how anybody can claim you don't know anything about economics.
Everyone claims I know nothing about anything, and they're probably mostly right. But thank you very much. Everything along this is like the most wanted space in all of San Francisco. But if you go straight down here, this is the famous buildings. Right over here. You can just wander over. I think we can just literally wander over everything in Google's here. It's astonishing and it's beautiful. But to go back, 5 of the 6 retail spaces on the ground floor atrium are vacant. And everyone's leaving. Visa will leave its 162,000 square feet for its new Mission Rock headquarters. When Paramount Group partnered with investment firm Blackstone to purchase it in 2007, do you know what was going on in 2007? Was there a bubble? Paramount paid $720 million for a 50% stake. It's $1.44 billion fucking outlay of this building, and everyone's leaving. Leasing momentum of the building was once so strong, the ownership group executed a $975 million loan for the property in 2014. But the bill came due at the worst possible time. And then everyone's just getting fucked. This is why they're pushing for all of this. This is, again, cascade. So when we're talking about this business, what they're dealing with is what every smaller business and even larger business is dealing with. These numbers, you're not going to see like drastically different. Walmart doesn't have a better buying deal with China than this. These are the margins that most of these things are made at. And if they can be made cheaper, they're being pressured to make them cheaper. Walmart may be taking a couple bucks. Their money's not made in singular products. Their money's made across volume. They make money in volume, not in a product. So again, as he's showing it, look at the numbers. And as they start going up and as these tariffs start growing, you actually hit where they literally lose $110 per unit to sell it, to even onshore it, actually, I think at this point is what they're showing.
So you're $60 beyond what you want to sell it for, basically.
Yeah, as our cost.
Right.
And the
retail margin the margin stays the same. The retail profit has increased.
Yeah, we increased the price.
The problem, are you serious? The market was like the best thing about the Embarcadero. Oh, San Francisco is like one of the most heartbreaking cities. Decade of my life, and I absolutely adore it as a place. But my brother and I joke because we both ended up getting there, mid 2000s. And we were there kind of at the end because there was a lot of money coming in, but it was right before buses started. Buses for me in San Francisco are the end of everything. And I don't mean public transit. I mean Apple buses, Google buses, tech buses, Facebook buses. Because before that, people wouldn't live in San Francisco and commute. They lived in the valley. They lived down in San Fernando. They lived south. I'm sorry, I'm confusing LA. They lived down in San Jose. They lived in Silicon Valley. And they wouldn't really come up to San Francisco except on the weekends at most. They'd come up and drink. Buses changed that. Apple and Google and all these companies just bought huge fleets of buses that you could work on. And suddenly everyone came into town. It just ruined the city, these fucking people.
Originally it was 150, and then we had lowered it down to 130. But as a response to the tariffs, we had to increase prices. So it's back up to 140. Okay. And you could see that the retail margin has actually increased on their dollar. So they're making more profit than before. Right. And we are losing money on everyone we sell.
So how much are you losing right now if you sell one of these at $140?
I would lose $91.26.
Think about it for a second. Just selling one right now, he will lose $90. Or he has to increase the price by $90 to break even. And that is just a computer case. It's just the case. It's just the case. Oh, God. I am, though, noticing, speaking of percentages, if half of you have only liked the stream, it looks like only half, I understand. I feel it in my soul, and that's fine. That's fine. We only got 2 new members. I get it. I'm not that interesting as a thing. I get it. You want Sunday. But if you do like me, maybe give the stream a like, maybe a super chat, maybe a membership. Maybe you could do a TTS.
Jesus Christ.
For a Y40.
Oh, man.
And I can tell you that the margin on like a Y70 Touch, it's worse. It's worse. We actually, that touchscreen is the most expensive, lowest margin part in a Y70 Touch. And that's because, again, we're pushing to get.
Look at that. See, I got to tell you, Pity works really nice. That's the most likes I've ever seen like pop up in a moment. Very nice. Thank all of you. That was a nice solid 23 likes very fast. I need to pull on those heartstrings a lot more. Just really upset you guys by saying how much Speaking of likes, I should like this video.
Gain market share. If we charged what
Some of us prefer Brooks.
And some of us prefer you. Thank you very much.
everybody expects their margin to be, this would not be a viable product in the market. Customers would not be able to afford that. We wouldn't be able to scale our quantities to hopefully eventually get our costs down.
Just the computer case. To sell this and for this company to make $5 in the current market.
TTS for heartstrings and tariff talk.
Thank you much. Just to, let's say they make $5, they need to sell this one computer case at $250. And it is meant to be a budget computer case. It's a $130 computer case normally. They need to double the price in order to make $5 on it. Now, apply that to the rest of the components.
Economies of scale play a huge role here in balancing that pricing structure, and it's just...
Do you like Plato's cosmology in Timos?
I don't care much for Plato mostly. Didn't pull like a heart, look like a heartstring. What? You people.
It's just not viable. This market, as it stands today with these products, it's not viable to manufacture and bring these products to sell in America.
And then your worst case is $214.
Worst case is the landed cost would be $214, and
so
we'll lose $109.
So you're going to see companies be a lot tighter.
If they pull these in right now, their worst case scenario is that it's going to be $109 to cost them $109 to bring them all in.
About only bringing in products that have the most guaranteed selling opportunity, right? So you're going to see maybe less colors or less special SKUs or...
So I'm not going to make you watch the whole video because I don't want to steal this guy's clout. I 100% recommend go watching it. We are going to skip a little bit around because, again, he goes through height. He talks about the overall costs that are happening and why they don't manufacture in America, which, again, repeats most of what we heard from the other. We'll just do it quick.
What about why don't you just make it in America?
It's a great question.
Thank you.
There are reasons. These costs are insane. It's still cheaper than if we tried to make it in America.
You hear that? It's still cheaper to import it with these tariffs and eat the tariff and sell it than if you tried to make it in America.
Doesn't Trump prove Plato right on democracy?
No. No. I think that presumes democracy is a totality that's the same in every instantiation of it, when it's mostly an idealized form. The way that we have sort of a constitutional republic that is a democracy versus other types, versus sortition, for example, doesn't prove Plato right. If anything, it actually shows the fallacy of having a philosopher king type thing where we end up having people who are the intelligentsia, who are the ones who choose. And that's what Trump is. Trump represents actually the philosopher king that would end up being in place. If you don't think he does, take a look again.
And now the costs of making in America carry additional non-monetary costs, organization, timing, all these types of things. I would love to be able to make the products that we sell in each country in the respective country. But the reality is the structuring of the global economy to manufacture goods has gone in one direction the entire modern era. And even just to try to pivot outside of China to reduce the pain, where there is actually already manufacturing that has been happening. Far more manufacturing has been happening in Thailand, in Vietnam, and in India than in America. And that change is very difficult. I can't see it happening for all of our products inside the next 15 years. There is an incentive to just not be in China. That's the communication I'm getting from the current administration. So we're going to try to move out of China to Thailand or Vietnam, which comes with its own associated of risks. As of right now, the initial cost estimates of just the inefficiency of manufacturing outside of China, it's an extra 30 to 40% on top of the cost.
Mm-hmm.
The workers may not be as skilled. You may not be able to reliably get materials. The machines may be at capacity, so you may not be able to get production space. There are all these additional costs. And that's in nations that are already somewhat prepared to absorb this manufacturing excess. America is so far away from being able to take our business. It's not viable. It's
just not viable. I wonder if anyone else is going to say these things.
No other way.
This is Thermal Grizzly. I use Thermal Grizzly. Thermal paste. This is like, and I appreciate Thermal Grizzly when I say this. This is like the simplest fucking little thing that exists. Little tube of stuff.
Do the tariffs that the U.S. has implemented affect in any way Grizzly's plans for manufacturing? I mean, do you consider them at all?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, I'm not against like manufacturing in the US. That's certainly something that is interesting. But for me as a business owner, what is happening actually pulls me away from that, because to me it feels like we are in a very unstable situation. Things change on a daily basis, and for any business, for any operation, drastic and sudden changes is the worst thing that can happen. We would need to know how far can we plan into the future, like for what happens in the next 5 years or in the next 10 years. Would it make sense to establish manufacturing there or not? But with things changing daily or weekly, I think this is more off-putting for any business than it helps. It just makes things a lot worse from my perspective.
Right. And then last one, here's some context for people. So, like I said, we have the separate full thing on the factory, but to get people introduced to it, can you give me some information about the factories that you've brought to Germany? You know, what made you?
You thought we hated profits. What the fuck? People don't understand socialism or Marx at all. It's one of the challenges we have is that the reactionary politics that is absolutely what is in control, not only of the world, for sure, but absolutely in America, is that reactionary Democrats or leftism that exists online shit on people for making money. They shit on businesses. They shit on profits. They say, oh, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. But these people are silly. They're silly and useless and ultimately exist only to counter with resentment the power structure. The reality is that profits are not the thing that anyone is necessarily against. It's the nature of how profits operate and how the people who have control of that profits aren't able to actually share in it, that the capitalist takes the profits, that they make jobs, that they make products, that Steve Jobs invented the iPhone or Elon Musk invented Tesla, like all this dumb bullshit. The reality is the money in everything is being made by the people who are manufacturing and the people who are being paid to manufacture and the people who are spending it and consuming those goods. That money and that profit structure is part of a general market socialist or market communism, as you'd see it. It's a very silly sort of thing to say that leftists are anti-profit. We're very much anti-capitalist, but not anti-profit. Profit is not about, that's not what capitalism is.
Did you want to do it? Roughly how many staff do you have there? What kinds of things do you make there? You know, just kind of some back.
And we'll jump slightly forward. Cooler Master.
It becomes a price war in the market.
Kim, what is your, do you have anything you want to sort of just address? Like, are there any misconceptions you're seeing commonly online or elsewhere?
I clicked the wrong one, sorry.
You know, user comments.
They're like, yeah.
Up next, we met with Cooler Master's Kimberly Barraza in Claremont, California.
This was my favorite part, because she's very matter-of-fact about the whole thing.
With product director Wei Yang, who also typically works in the Claremont office, but was calling in from a trip abroad. Like many of these other people today, I've known Wei for over a decade. He's one of the reasons Cooler Master fixed its H500P after our review many years ago. As for Kim, she handles logistics and freight issues and has the most answers for this.
Jesus Christ. Look, people, there are books you can read to learn about alternatives to the necessary place of capital. It isn't that the state takes it. The state is actually a mechanism of capital. It's wild. Do you know how people get excess profits? Do you know how that's made? I have a pizza place. I buy, let's say I grow all of my own ingredients and make it all myself, or it appears magically.
Even tankies understand the need for surplus.
Even tankies understand surplus. Yeah. Marx too, by the way. Let's say I have a pizza place and magically, we're not part of any supply chains. We'll get to that in a second, but magically I have all the ingredients and I make pizzas. How do I make a profit? By charging people more than I'm spending on rent and ingredients and other things. I realize at some point, oh my God, I have so many people coming here. I need someone else to help me make pizza. So I go in and I go, Emoy, how you doing? Want to make pizza? And Emoy's like, I love pizza. I'm very good at it. I'm like, awesome. Come on in. And you make pizzas with me. Do I pay you what you're worth? Do I pay you what you actually produce? No, I don't. I can't. Because if I did, you'd make all of the money and excess that you're actually producing. If you make 50 pizzas and we sell them at $100 a piece, they're the best pizzas that have ever been made. I'm just doing easy math. The way that money would get spread is not to you. I'm paying you less than that. Because if I paid you exactly what you're worth, I would make no profit as a company. That's where the rub is. Profit is still made. Profit exists. The amount of money that's spent versus the other thing. But the amount of money that's made on the backs of the workers, the amount of money that's made by workers who are actually doing the work versus the manager who is doing far less, or the capitalist who's doing none, who simply introduces capital to the system. The workers are necessarily not being paid what they're worth. That's the rub. That's the challenge. That's the difference.
Directly. Way's phone and audio was...
I'm a 2025 young Hegelian. I just... No. And everyone here who... Yeah, everyone here who knows me is like, oh, dude. Like, you might as well have just said the F word as a slur.
Unfortunately problematic in the recording, so we'll mostly defer to Kim's section here. Kim, we'll start just briefly. I mean, what's your role at Cooler Master?
So I'm a logistics specialist. Essentially, I handle all the inbound containers. If we need to place orders with our factory, I'll place them in our system. I'll review all the shipping documents as well that are incoming with customs. So that's pretty much what I do here in regards to logistics.
You have a lot.
And again, let me point out, we're watching a YouTube channel where this guy, and I like this guy, I've watched Gamers Nexus for a while, but this dude is the one who has gone to companies and asked and talked to them about actually how this will work. And they're sharing their books with this guy. And we haven't seen this on any of the other news channels that exist. I adore him. I adore again the channel, but that he's doing this and he's able to do this. Somehow I would guess that people on actual news channels would have more credibility and ability to do this, but they're choosing not to. And I think that's the thing to be realizing here, how horrifying it is that this is the only time I've seen someone doing this work.
To do right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And we love him for it. Go to Gamers Nexus, subscribe there, give them love.
Keeping up with the news on a daily basis. Yeah. So far, what the news has been reporting for the reciprocal tariffs, if they have the aluminum or steel derivatives, which is 25% of the material percentage, then you're going to calculate based on material percentage.
Okay.
But if it doesn't have an aluminum or steel derivative, then it would be based off the total cost of the item. So the reciprocal would be charged of the total cost.
Got it.
But again, that's still up in the air. There's no official notice. So the tariffs get applied as soon as it's on board a vessel. So for example, the first reciprocal tariffs or the universal tariffs were applied, I believe it was April 4th. So between April 4th and April 9th, those tariffs are only 10%. Anything on board data.
Wait. I just have to do a thing. Alo Ali, you're fantastic in chat. Thank you. I feel like it's Gamergate level again. Just posted about how Xbox is a lot greater than PS4 and Switch because we don't need foreign tech. My boy, do you know where the Xbox is manufactured? My boy, do you know where the Xbox is manufactured? 100% of them, by the way. All of them. It ain't America. China and Mexico. You're fucking awesome. China and Mexico. Mexico, I think, is the more recent. They've been opening up there for some time. But Shanghai, I know there was a plant in Shanghai that was doing it for most of, I think, Xbox One all the way through. But Mexico, they've added in recently. I think Xbox One S, but it's an end of the run thing. Again, it's mostly to get around other issues and things. So, ain't a native born console. Hate to break it to you. It ain't Kansas.
Data vessel after April 9th will get charged the reciprocal tariff. So as long as it's on the vessel after April 9th, I believe it's 1201 EST, then that will get charged the reciprocal tariffs, which right now is at 125%.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Wei, are you guys considering, I've seen in the news that like Razer, Asus, car companies, like Height, all these different people are not shipping into the US right now. Is that something that Cooler Master is considering?
So before all the news hit, we already ordered close to, I want to say, 4,000 pallets of products, and we placed order and purchased materials already. So we are at point of no return.
Does it feel different right now from previous, like from historically?
Essentially, yes. I mean, it's pretty much 24/7. Being on call with the forwarders, contacting brokers, contacting or attempting to contact customs. Right now, it's a little bit difficult to get them on hold because I'm assuming they're just getting an influx of calls, just trying to get the latest news. Because at this moment, it's pretty much just social media or news that outlets that are coming out with the information.
Right.
There's no official notice yet, so it's very difficult to get anything certain. Forwarders attempt to give us an official note from them, but they do like to wait for customs to officially put out a bulletin or official letter on their end to certify what tariffs are going into place.
That it would probably be good to define something. So you mentioned forwarders, brokers, and of course customs or CBP. So what are forwarders and brokers? What do they do?
Forwarders.
This is important if you want to understand logistics. Cohen wrote an amazing book I recommend called The Deadly Life of Logistics. If you ever need something that'll really ruin your fucking day, that is just about the nature of global trade and how it operates at every single level. And when I say every level, I mean all the way down to the original miners and the people around the miners in the towns that support mining. There's another great book on this. I'll try to remember the name of it. I'll see if I can remember it. It's sitting around here. This is important stuff to understand how these things really work together. It helps.
Brokers are the ones that help us import the shipments. Brokers are the ones that help us with all the legal documents when it comes to customs. So they're the ones that help us clear customs, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a little bit all over the place, right? We have the 25% tariffs that were executed back in 2018 when Trump was first president.
Right.
Those have a certain list of exclusions. Then we have the 10% that he executed, I believe it was February 4th. And then he did an extra 10% March 4th. So now we're at a 45% if the exclusions don't apply for the first tariffs imposed. And then we're moving on to the reciprocal tariffs.
Okay.
So right now, I believe the reciprocal tariffs are up to 125. So all in all, we're looking at about 145 with the new tariffs imposed.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we kind of create a hypothetical situation like a $100 case or something, and the case has probably some steel in it, maybe a lot of steel, and there's some various other pieces like plastics. So, I mean, based on your understanding right now.
One sec. Popped off. What the fuck? Where did it go? Okay, whatever.
Now, and again, for everyone watching, this stuff changes constantly. So when this airs, things might be different. But based on your understanding right now, how does that potential tariff break down?
So right now the HTS code for case is not under the steel derivative, so it would have to be under the aluminum derivative. And there's a bunch of HTS codes that they came out with to apply specifically for that tariff. So for example, we have a $100 case, right? We break it down 50% aluminum, 50% whatever other material. The $100, there is the 20% that will get charged automatically for the entirety of the 100.
Okay. So we're up to 120, I guess.
Yes. Well, yeah, 120 or $20 for just that specific tariff.
Right.
And then if you break it down, 50% of the aluminum, which is $50, you tariff that 25%. So now we're at $12.50. So 20 plus $12.50, we're at $32.50.
Right.
And then if we do the 50% of the rest of the material, which is the remaining $50 of that case, that will get charged.
Just imagine trying to do this for any product. She's knocking it out of the park. But I'm just saying, like, this is just the level of insanity with this is that silly.
125% reciprocal. So now,
because he's stupid. So Trump does an aluminum tariff. He doesn't understand that that means like products that are aluminum. He thinks like it's like sheets of aluminum that are being built elsewhere, that like we're smelters, and we want to have the smelters elsewhere and bring the aluminum in. And then with the aluminum, we do things. He's too stupid to know that like it's percentages of products. Cause again, the old way of manufacturing hasn't been done in 40 plus fucking years. And he's really dumb.
now we're at $62.50 for just that portion, the 125. So that.
All right. Now that's fun. You're over the line. You're out. So you have fun. No fun. I'm not debating people who do the weird dumb name calling bullshit.
That entire case, the $100 case, will get tariffed at, I believe it's $95.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we're paying $195 for a $100 case.
So I know there have been exclusions in the past, like when a product just couldn't be made in the U.S. I don't know who wants to speak to this, but do those still exist? Or what's the process to getting exclusions?
So essentially,
and this is a longer discussion. I want to move forward a little bit because we've got a freight forwarder he actually talks to, and this is fascinating.
Now we'll check in with Alex Chin from Straight Forwarding. This discussion is unique as well. Alex works as an independent freight forwarder, which means he'll have insight to how all this actually works. He's one of the people who these companies go to hire when they have questions and challenges bringing products into the U.S. from any country. For logistics simplicity, we met with him at iBuyPower's office, but he currently doesn't work with iBuyPower and is an independent voice here. Alex, first up, what's your job and who do you work for?
So I am a freight forwarder. I work with a company called Straight Forwarding. I've been with the company for 7 years now.
That's a pretty fucking good name for a freight forwarder.
My first job out of college. What we do, we organize shipments, between buyers and sellers. We organize it with the shipping carriers or the airliners and the truckers. We're not limited to just transportation. We can also do like warehousing, custom clearance, and just a general consulting, just for a lot of companies. I think I'm in a pretty unique position because I started in 2018. That's when the first round of tariffs.
Echo says, so much supply chain I never considered, but makes sense. Never been on a hard product. The first time I was ever like part of a hard product launch, toys actually, back when I was at Lucas, I got to see the whole process beginning to end. I was talking of all people, I got to be friends with the guy who made and ran Parappa the Rappa. The guy who created that game, really wonderful dude. And he started a toy company that was about fast toys. It was about a very, very efficient 3D printing / tooling process that you could get toys out very quickly. It was intended for like mech stuff because he, again, into that sort of space. Like once you start diving into actual hardware manufacturing, once you have to do tooling, once you see the whole thing, and I got like, with Star VR, when we were building the headset, it was really weird to sort of see the levels of which things are, I don't want to say made generic, but I had a really, I don't know why. And again, these are things that some of you are going to know, others aren't. And some will say, be like, of course, but like, I didn't realize almost every screen that's in any VR headset was made by Samsung. And like, there's another manufacturer on the scene now, but it's kind of like a Samsung alternative. And so when you have like people competing over the literal same output from the same factory, because you're going to make a 4K headset or a 5K headset, and you've got this high density LCD or OLED screen that you're going to be using. You're competing for that one output from that one factory, and how much you pay puts you in front of the line or not. And that changes when you can launch, how you can launch, the ability for you to get fixed panels. If you get a bad shipment, you might be fucked. Like, it's a whole bunch of shit. And that's just that thing. And that panel is not made wholly there. It's made of parts from other places and in other parts of the supply chain. And all of that, like manufacturing happens in Acer's Taiwanese. We got to spend a lot of time in Taiwan, but not all of it, because a lot of it's elsewhere. They have manufacturing, like it's such a diversified nightmare. And on top of it, you have purchasers, you have forwarders, you have freight lines, and you have people who in the States become then like your shipping companies, because you're having to handle the shipping for all of it to various retail outlets or places. It's a completely different beast. It's wild once you see it. He wasn't banned. I just silenced him because he said, I don't have a foundation and I'm not interested in personal attacks like that. If you want to have debates, and like Emoy's still in here for fuck's sake, and he said a lot of dumb shit.
Actually happened, the 25% that kind of shocked the market. And just because that happened shortly after I got hired, I just been very entrenched in like a lot of things that have to do with customs, you know, not just limited to tariffs, of course.
Right. This is my hardest question.
Of course.
Do you know the tariffs? So we'll choose the blanket tariff, like against China, for example.
Okay.
Do you know what that tariff is right this instant?
Sure Shot says, as a backer for the X Pro 1 smartphone, I got to learn about the entire process for all the wrong reasons. Didn't get my phone until 4 years later. Anyone who's done a Kickstarter product has probably actually seen a good deal of this shit. It's very fair. The number of manufacturing products that have gone wrong, and so you get to learn through bad examples, is kind of amazing. And Esther, I don't care. He doesn't know my epistemology. Again, not a thing for me, for those who are even slightly familiar with me. So again, this is not time to be doing that. So cool your jets.
Blanket tariff. So we're just talking about general goods, or we got a specific?
The big number.
The big number. Okay. So the big number that we just had, that is official as of last night, we have 125% plus 20%. Plus the 25% that happened in 2018. So that would bring your total to 170%, assuming that your product pays 0% duties. So things like toys, graphics cards, computer cases, you know, those are duty free. You know, when you bring them in, you don't have to pay anything. But now you got to pay 170%.
Fuck. So all the manufacturers I've spoken to so far seem very confused about the specifics on the current tariffs. Why are they confused?
So I think the confusion comes with two things, okay? Number one, the effective date of when things happen. Because I think yesterday or the day before, I think it's like April 8th, April 9th, he said, we're doing 125% starting today. Actually, that's not the case. When Donald Trump does say something, it blasts the headlines. It's totally fine. But what I wait for is the notice and the specified instructions from CBP that gets sent out pretty quickly afterwards. And they'll say, okay, the 125% does apply, but you can be exempt if, number one, your shipment left the port, the final port of loading, before like April 9th, and is going to arrive into the US before May 27th. So if you have those two conditions, for example, and your stuff is already on the water,
then it would be the most recent previous tariff, I guess?
The most recent, the 125. If you got on the boat and it left, let's say China, for example, right? It left China on the 9th, and it's gonna get here in 2 weeks, so it's gonna get here on, let's say, like the 25th or something, right? You're golden.
I know I've heard talk of there's special tariffs on steel, or on aluminum, or whatever it may be. If there's a tariff on, what happens if...
We're going to jump around a little bit. Again, it's worth watching the entire thing. I don't want to sit here and just watch, but it's hard for me not to just make sure that you guys get to some of this stuff, because it's fucking crazy how much detail he gets from a lot of these.
The manufacturer hits a point where the items ship, and with the current tariffs, they say this is actually no longer worth even bringing to the country.
Yeah, it's not viable to have it, to like even bring it in anymore, right?
Right. So if you're, let's just say it's in the middle of the Pacific right now. What are your different options?
I would recommend that we ship that container back. We don't even let it like, get out of the port or anything. Just export it back to your manufacturer. Talk to your manufacturer and say, hey, look, I already paid for this. That's why it's on the boat on halfway here. I paid for this, but you know what situation is going on right now. You know that like this is gonna kill me if, like let's just say like a $30 million container, you really think that someone has another $35 million just to put up front to bring it in before you even sell it? It doesn't, you can't operate a business like that. The second option I would recommend.
It's amazing how easy it is to just talk about how stupid the tariffs are like that. It's like, why would a business have, it's a $32 million container, they're going to have more than 132 million? Like, are you fucking nuts? Is it? Yeah.
And it's called a foreign trade zone. So this is like a third-party logistics warehouse. It operates just like any other warehouse, but they're special because you don't actually have to clear customs to bring your product into the state and into their facility. And you pay duties as you start withdrawing the units out of the warehouse.
It's almost like a bank, I guess.
Yeah, so it's almost like,
it's a gigantic warehouse where you pay nothing, and then as you pull out individuals, because you can have a warehouse there and then sell the things individually for the ridiculous price and then pull them out of the warehouse in order to do it. It's one of the ways around these taxes. There's a lot of countries who have these weird trade zones. Dubai, when I was working in there, has a gigantic trade zone filled with insane places where it's just all the stuff you get shipped in kind of sits there and you just wait until you really need it. If you do, it's a completely different way of thinking about it. It's wild.
We're going to have it physically in the U.S., but to customs, it hasn't officially entered.
It's a
foreign area.
Okay.
Kind of like Terminal 1 at like the airport or something. Like once you get to that point, you got all these duty-free stores, whatever. All these like foreigners, just like all in the same place.
No, Brooks, you see, they're just complaining and failing to innovate. I learned this in the Andrew Tate School of Business.
Thank you, Sure Shot. I adore you.
It's kind of like that vibe where.
So basically, you store your $30 million of GPUs in this place because you don't have an.
And again, innovation just means not caring about the laws and abusing everything that's there with excess capital that allows you to offset the costs and make it cheaper until you're willing to basically destroy the market and take it back over. The way that, hey, taxis are the same price as they were before Uber, and now they're on Uber.
Another $30 million to import it all.
Yeah.
You pull your whatever pallet at a time.
Yeah, one pallet at a time. You pay the duties for that pallet.
Yep. All right. Louis Rossman's great. I wanted this little bit. I liked about a minute here. I like Louis. He's exactly the right kind of prickly fuck for me.
More of these. Now, if the tariff plans change, and this is where the
Aren't labor prices rapidly rising in China?
Yes, for China. It's not the same super low cost country as it used to be. It ain't the same as America. At all, especially in a lot of the peripheral cities where a lot of the manufacturing is starting to be moved to. There's a reason that China's doing what the US did. They're moving manufacturing to other places. It's why they're trying to get in bed with India, for example, or the Zakistans or stands of any kind, as well as the rest of Southeast Asia, and Africa, by the way. They're trying to do this across the board. There's a reason that they've been doing this. But they're still way cheaper than here. And again, the way that they have and the way that just the nature of logistics has been built, it makes it so factory 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are blocks from each other rather than across the world, which changes everything. Just changes everything. But as we're still talking I think the average salary is still a third or less of the United States. People who work in medium level factories, like comparable gigs. It's also why Xbox moved to Mexico. Mexico is cheaper than China, which again speaks to volumes about China, to be frank, and Mexico. India, I think, is the cheapest, and Africa is like not registering. But also the infrastructure is still being built there, Belt and Road and all that. So it's a lot.
The issues really roll out 3 to 9 months from now. This is the thing that people have to see. It's not just now. Is let's say that this is all resolved in 2 weeks. Well, that for 3 or 4 weeks, I did not place an order that I was going to place, which means when I run out of these, now I'm not going to have anything to sell for 2 or 3 months. So what does that mean? Everybody who does have stock ups their prices because of supply and demand, or you don't have that product. So even if you don't see prices go up now, the 2 to 4 to 6 weeks where everybody is saying, I'm not doing business until I figure out what's going on, means that things are not being ordered, things are shutting down. And during COVID, like a lot of things that were going on with the economy was this factory is closed, this oil refinery is closed, and so on and so forth. And you didn't really see the effects of it until 3 or 6 or 9 months down the line, when it's like everything is more expensive, or I can't buy this, or I can't get it shipped for a car. And I think you're going to see the same thing happen here, because nobody, when they see 20%, 120, maybe exempt, never mind. When they see that, it's like, I'm not buying anything right now.
Right.
But you're going to see the effect of that 3 to 6 or 9 months from now when the stock runs out.
So that's really interesting, I think, because I'll pitch you some of the comments I've seen online, and we can talk about them. You tell me
So you
what
want to
think.
raise my blood pressure? I'll set my watch to measure it.
No.
My watch is going to track it.
Yeah, let's get it running.
Let's go.
Yeah. No, I mean, so one of them, I would say one of the common ones is companies are going to use this as a smokescreen to permanently raise prices. True, not true?
It's very possible, but I think there's also a natural human inclination to do this. So if I haven't eaten in 2 or 3 days, and then I finally eat, when I do finally eat, I'm probably going to eat like a pig. But more importantly, your body's going to hold on to that. It may not be healthy for you. You're going to wind up with a bit more of a gut. It's not going to go to the muscles and where it should. But you're going to want to hold on to that. So if I've had this traumatic experience of I had to raise my prices 100% because some dude decided to have a war on Truth Social or something, then now I'm going to be worried, is that going to happen again? I'm going to have that anxiety in the back of my head. So now, again, 90% of it is going to be greed, just to be clear. But there's going to be that little 10% that says, I'm going to hold on to it because I had that shock.
And I love how Lewis is talking about it here, because again, this is where everyone fucks this up. The reality is there is absolutely greed in there, but the way capitalism functions, like again, you're free to come to my anti-Oedipus readings if you want to get into it, and we want to have conversations here, but it is about pushing towards an edge and then ultimately recapturing. And the way it recaptures is by saying, hey, you've got all of this extra profit. We've got all this extra room, but what if? Better hold on to it. Better hold on to it. So there's a huge amount of greed. Greedflation's very much a real thing, but that's for companies like Pepsi. That's for companies like Kroger. That's for billion-dollar companies. For small companies, and I would put all the companies we've seen are Cooler Master is not like some multi-billion-dollar company. They are going to have this time where it's like, okay, we've raised our prices. The question would be, do we trust Trump not to do this again? And if it happens again, if we remember, look, like they're talking about, they're losing money actively by not selling. They're getting fucked across the board by not selling, by not having the tariffs run, by not having these things happen. And so that money that's lost, they're going to offset in profit on the other side, because across the year, they don't want to have a loss because of Trump. So they'll keep the prices in place, even if the costs go back down, even if tariffs go back down, for 2 reasons: offsets previous losses, and also, what if this shit happens again? Like Lewis is saying, there's no business person who runs a small business who would just go, okay, cool, I'm going to be a nice guy and be the guy who drops my prices again when no one else is doing it and when you have no reason. We're just going to see this continuous growth. It's horrifying to consider. But again, this is what we saw after everything. Supply chains get disrupted, costs go up, costs did not go back down, and they're fucked, and everything's fucked. Just fucked. And the last bit here, and we may end up closing out the stream because we're starting to get onto that 3-hour mark. But, and so again, if you like what we're doing here, please do drop a super chat, drop a membership, 5 memberships, happy day, or head over to the link that is being placed in there by Nightbot to donate over on Stream Elements. Money makes it through Stream Elements the cleanest, and every dollar does help and keep us afloat and keep me afloat. Thank you very much. But the last note, I think, is from I Buy Power. I really appreciated the candor of this.
Because of the time crunch that we're working with, we do have to purchase sometimes, products that are sold to us at a higher cost. And, we'll try our best to...
The book on logistics, The Deadly Life of Logistics by Deborah Cohen. Deborah Cohen, Deadly Life of Logistics. It's put out by University of Minnesota Press. In The Deadly Life of Logistics, Deborah Cohen traces the art and science of logistics over the past 60 years, from the battlefield to the boardroom and back again, focusing on choke points such as national borders, zones of piracy, blockades, and cities. She tracks contemporary efforts to keep goods circulating and brings to light the collective violence these efforts produce. She investigates how the old military art of logistics played a current role and critical role in making the global economic order, not simply the globalization of production, but also the invention of the supply chain and the reorganization of national economies into transnational systems. While reshaping the world of production and distribution, logistics is also actively reconfiguring global maps of security and citizenship, a phenomenon Cohen charts through the rise of supply chain security, with its challenge to long-standing notions of state sovereignty and border management. Fantastic. Really, really depressing book. The thing Trump's pointing at, and again, I kind of get it. I get the investment in this. The nature of how these corporations and companies and supply chains work is now cross-border, which means there's no state that controls a company. There's no state that controls production. There's no state that can have the use of force freely. In fact, most of these companies have private security forces or even their own rules as they negotiate and deal with things across borders.
Colorful money for your colorful hair.
Thank you very much, Joe. It's as these companies have this control across borders, and as they run these things, the state is only really ever at the end of the line and can only control what it can control. And because we're putting ourselves at war with China constantly, we're not able to work with them. And I mean that. We're not able to work with other states. States themselves are sort of have their own issues. So these companies are kind of free to do whatever they're doing. I'm certainly not. Thank you, June, for the 10 gifted memberships. Very kind of you. I'm certainly not arguing that we should have slave labor everywhere. I'm certainly not doing any of those things. The challenge becomes that what we need is a nuanced response to this, and we need a better understanding of how these things actually operate and how we can place controls on them that put them in their place. If you want to really do it, you basically increase the taxes across the board on all the wealthy, and you use that money to subsidize the creation of lots of industry. That's a conversation I'd be very willing to have. But they don't want to do that. What they want to do is they just want to punish the poor by instituting a tariff. And the reason they're doing that is so that way they can cut taxes on the wealthy. And so that way, all we're doing as poor people is paying all the taxes that keep things running, that keep security in place for the wealthy to keep doing their thing in these transnational corporations to keep running over our rights. That's what Trump's doing. That's what Trump's doing. That's all he's doing. He doesn't give a shit about any of these things. You're wrong if you think otherwise. He wants his taxes gone. Musk wants his taxes gone, and it's all large investments into money and scams. That's it. It's wild.
Absorb most of it, but at certain times these unfortunately do have to get passed on to a consumer a little bit. One good example, and this was just being discussed with myself and Durham before the meeting, was, for example, cases, right? Unfortunately, right at this moment, some of our cases are still coming out of China, and that at the current moment is being tagged on 145%. We do have containers on the way, which, we can't turn back already, and we're going to get tagged on the, based on what we know, 145%. But we're trying our best not to just, let's say our case is $50, to increase it by 145%, right? We'll increase it a tiny bit, but rest of it, we're going to try to absorb the cost ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have higher cost from tariffs, does that then potentially impact your order volume?
Absolutely.
And if it impacts your order volume, then does it also affect your economies of scale and your price
Yes.
per unit.
Yes. So at the end of every year, we'll have a business plan for following year.
Mhm.
So every business unit will submit their plan, then we'll add them up together, and we cut them by quarter, and we send out a forecast to all the suppliers, and with a dollar volume. So if
And Follow the Fellow says, I get why people think Trump is doing it for the right reasons, even though it's obvious he isn't. I do too. A part of the problem is the Rust Belt had to choose between a liar and a person ignoring them. Yeah, I put it differently. Voters were asked to vote, and the Democrats offered nothing that people can be invested in. Trump did offer things like emotionally. When you think about, and let's talk about it as a capitalist, when you create a product, you need people to go want to buy it. You need whatever that hill is that people will climb to get to your product. Is it money? Is it distance? Is it whatever for you to take over anything? And so the hill, you want to have either something that's so attractive they'll go over any size hill, or you want to have a very tiny hill. And voting is one of those things that's like kind of a hill, and you need to think about it as a product. And Trump basically was saying, I've got a bunch of reasons you should vote for me. And the things he was saying will drive people. Again, it's not rational. They'll drive people to get up. They'll drive people to go somewhere and drive and vote because it's fear. It's scared. My parents are both Trumpers, hardline, and the shit they believe and how they look at it is out of fear. And they're doing it. My wife, her father, when we moved up to Portland, left a teary voicemail. Her grandfather, not her dad, left a teary voicemail crying, worried about his great grandbabies being killed by Antifa because we moved to Portland. That's fear drives people very well. And that's an extraordinary amount of fear. And that really pushes people in a lot of ways. This is a thing. What Kamala failed, and I actually think her VP had a better handle on, but they put the cuffs on him quick. She didn't want to rock the boat. She didn't want to say anything people could get invested in. And so all we had was fear. But fear actually only drives right-wingers. We know this. We actually know, like the studies on this, the fear is very particular. Thank you. Welcome to the Orizuru. Fear only drives a certain type of voter. And for other people, it's not enough to go over that hill. It's not enough to go over the hill. And if it's not, you won't go. If you don't see your interests being represented, you will not go. And people did not see their interests being represented. And the Midwest, that was absolutely the case. You just didn't see it. It's less that Trump won, like, again, half the country voted. No, half of voters voted. Half of the country either voted against him or didn't vote. And the reality is, when we start talking about getting people over that hump, it's about building a narrative and an understanding and a plan that people can be invested in. And we're not doing it. They're not. They're just not doing it. They're still not doing it, by the way. AOC and Bernie are starting to do it. Fucking absolutely. Tim Walz is trying to do it. Tim Walz is doing quite well. I actually really appreciate him. Again, disagree on a lot of stuff. Not all of it. His takes on Israel stunned me. And again, they put the cuffs and muzzle on him really fast. When you write a doctoral thesis saying that we need to teach more than just one, massive genocide in schools, so that way people don't think it's just a Jewish thing, that's your fucking dissertation. That's a pretty good take, actually. It's a very, very good take. They shut him up. This is the function of power. They would rather have Trump with doing this than have Kamala doing what she's doing. And that's where we were at. Again, democracy spoke. I'm not disagreeing with that. Democracy spoke. And this is how democracy has always functioned. So that's how it's always functioned. It's no different now than it ever has been, ever.
Let's say dollar volume stays the same, but your cost increases. That your economy scales and your quantity is just going to drop.
Mm-hmm.
So that might impact our overall quantities.
So, and then just for people at home, I mean, does that impact the average cost of the unit typically?
Yes, the increased average cost per unit, increase costs, everything associates, potentially pass on to the end users.
If average cost, so tariffs, as I understand it, depending on which tariff it is, can be applied against the cost of the item, like to actually make it. Feel free to correct me if that's wrong, but so if it's applied against the cost of the item and your cost goes up because your volume went down,
then we're eating more tariff. Yeah.
So then the multiplier from the tariff is now multiplied against. So if you paid $3 more per unit because you ordered 1,000 fewer units,
correct.
Right.
Yeah.
The tariff is now applying against that $3 increase as well. Is that accurate?
Yeah, according to what you say, this is how we understand it as well. Yeah.
Whether you pass.
I adore that we are in a position where business people who run pretty major companies that have been functional for years aren't actually sure. That is to me indicative of all of this. That's it to me. That's the thing to me and where we're at. That's the terror of all of it. Is we just don't know, and they don't know. They think, yeah, it's probably like that. You should be able to answer. I think my favorite was China asking their foreign embassy and also companies asking U.S. embassies, so what is the tariff? And they couldn't be answered. Because it's just all made up. Imoy, you're great. Acting on emotions doesn't get you very far. I'm glad you think that you're completely rational. That's fantastic. I'm glad a lot of you people think about that. That's very good. It's good that you think that. Enjoy continuing to think that, and enjoy joining us Friday for the next episode of In the Fold. Of course, if you can, give us a like. We would adore it. Give us a subscription. We'd love that. We'd love memberships, and there's multiple tiers of it. And of course, start folding your cranes. Again, I'm 20 some in. I'm on my way. Got a long way to go. But join. We're going to be doing crane folding workshops for the members. Just saying. But of course, also jump into Nightbot has a Stream Elements link. Please give a donation there if you like what we're doing. Let's see where I can send you today. Is there anything interesting going on? Is there anyone streaming? Usually there's at least someone, right? Usually there's somebody live. Nope. No one there. God damn, really? Yeah, it's going to be frustrating. Who do I send people to? What do? I stream every day. We stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for a couple hours until we kind of fizzle or kind of hit all the things we want to talk about. We try not to talk about things that are way outside of our setup, but what can I say? We're only able to do so much. Is there anyone live that I want to go into? Let's see. Oh, there is. One of my favorite channels, and you're going to be a lot of people raiding in. Monk Life Meditation is a lovely gentleman who is a Buddhist monk and his buddy, and they are very open and very much interested in spreading their word, and I get a kick out of them. I find it fantastic. So I'm going to send you to them. Be nice across the board. Because you are going to be rating in 100 and some of you to a channel that has 9 people watching it right now. So give them love, give them the best, and ask them questions. They're very, very fascinating. And they're good dudes. So with that, I'm going to say, thank all of you, and we'll see you next time.